Hey everybody, I'm Mike,
I'm Sam.
and this is Board Game Rundown, and we are live from my basement because we cover games from the ground up. Thanks everybody for joining us. We've got one of my favorite people in the industry with us. It's Sam Stockton from BA Games, one of the good ones. How we doing, Sam?
We are doing quite well. I pardon my venue. I'm at a hotel in Dallas, so
You're always somewhere different when you hop on with us. If people don't know that, maybe they will by now. You're on the road by trade, so
yeah. So
the
that's just my life.
the fact that you're able to cut out some time for us, regardless where you are, is something we always appreciate. Um, but as you can see, and others do as well, I'm sure by now, is that Tim is not with us. He's running late. It could be very late, and very late might turn into Tim not joining us. Unfortunately, we had another T-ball game that is going much later than expected. I never would have imagined that. T-ball games never go as short as they should.
Oh,
Uh,
it'll be 30 minutes, 40 minutes. No.
yeah, you mean one at bat. Uh, but let's say hi to all of our regulars who thought we were starting at 9. Welcome, Andrew. Welcome, Mr. Halbert. Yes, the baseball game is why we started late to hopefully give Tim an opportunity to join us. Yes, Bob, we did move it back tonight. So this was planned. This was planned, and it looks like nobody came back to join us at 9 o'clock. Hey, there we go. We got Steph joining us
We
from
got a few people.
China. We got Donnie in the chat. We got Diana. Thanks, guys. Thanks you for watching. So Sam, we kind of slapped together our topic this morning. Um,
It's a topic I've been thinking about a lot, though. That's why
ah,
I suggested it because I've been thinking about it a whole lot the last few months.
Excellent. So you picked best themes or your favorite themes in games. Why? Why have you been thinking so much lately about theme?
Because as a board game publisher, it's something that I have to keep in mind when when I take in pitches from different designers because we're starting to do that now for the first time.
Awesome.
Because most of the stuff that we've done up until now, and probably in the future, and some in the future, will be stuff that I've designed for the company. But we're getting to a point now we feel like we want to be more like a publisher than just a me. I don't want to like I'm okay designer, but there are some really good designers out there, and I want to showcase their stuff because they're better than me at it. So the goal is to get those people to get their games published, and we've had a lot of interesting themes get introduced to us. We've had a lot of interesting ideas, and some games are really interesting games, but the theme is very flat. And some games the opposite. So it's been really interesting to see like why is that? Why are certain themes more flat? Like is that just for me or is that for the marketplace? Does the marketplace prefer this? And you see trends in the marketplace. Like
That's
right now, you've never seen so many nature themed games before in the
yeah.
board game hobby than in the last few years. And why
Hmm.
is that? Is that going to be a continuing trend? I don't know. So it's really interesting.
Yeah. That was exactly the segue, the question I was going to ask you. You have to pay attention to those trends and themes because there's, too many of one theme all at once, and people start to think, okay, how do I choose just one of these three nature games if they all come out at the same time? And it's already a crowded space as it
Just
is.
get all of them. It's fine.
Yeah. All of the nature games and all the anthropomorphic being blacksmith games as well.
That is actually a funny thing too, because that actually happened. Not anthropomorphic, but the blacksmith theme like was because we haven't seen it for a long time. There haven't been many games with blacksmithing for a few years now.
Not that many.
I think the last big one was like I think it was a King's Forge was the last like big one.
Yeah.
Um, and there were nothing. So we're like, oh, this is a good space. I think I designed a game around it, a blacksmith thing, and I thought, you know what, let's keep that theme. Let's do some stuff. And then I ran into an artist that I absolutely love, and Andrew Raddick, who's always done a lot of like really amazing anthropomorphic animals. So I thought I just married the two together, and voila, we have a theme.
Mm-hmm.
And as we announced it, there's like another game called Forges. There's like Forges of Theinheimer, or there's like 4 or 5 games who all announced within like a 3-month span that we're releasing on Kickstarter, and they're all blacksmithing games. I'm like,
I
so
think I
much fun.
remember this one. Blacksmiths of Steinheimer is one
Yes.
that came out like right when your campaign went live.
And then Forges, done
Yes.
by Wesley, lovely man, love that guy. But he had another one. It's just like, come on, guys, we can't coordinate this stuff.
And of course, for those that are not in the know, we'll fix that. We're talking about Forges of Ravenshire, which is BA Games' next. BA Games' next published design here, designed by yourself, Sam.
Yep.
And the other brothers at BA Games. But this will be fulfilling in June. So really looking forward to this.
Yeah, so if you ain't got any backers on here, Forge Ravenshire is currently at the port. It is it made it to landfall, so that's good. It has been picked up for inspection. So it's being x-rayed over the next few days to make sure it's not hazardous to Americans. And then we will see where it goes from there. Hopefully that's just a few days and then we're able to move on and get it in. But it has landed on the coast. So that is a good thing.
Bob says hi.
And then for all of our European and other world places, those are in progress. We have an update probably going out this week about some updates on where those things are at.
Of course, Bob is a huge champion of Forges of Ravenshire, as we all are, because I've played it several times, thoroughly enjoyed it. This will be definitely a dice chucking worker placement game for you guys to be looking out for. Bob taught this game, twice this weekend? So Sam actually came to visit us last week. We all played some games at Bob's house last week, which was a great time. Glad you hit us up while you were in town.
Can't believe I lost Wine Cellar. I'm so upset. I almost had it.
Another great game currently on Kickstarter from 25th Century Games that I had the opportunity to play. Yeah, great time. And of course, Sam dropped off Forges of Ravenshire so that we could start getting it played and start talking about it again and get some content out for it.
Yeah, I have a limited. I have like 8 copies total.
Nice.
So you guys have one of those.
Awesome.
We got to specially shipped to us early so I could have them for ACT Games Day, which is where I stopped at your place on the way up to Wisconsin, which is kind of on the way up. Not really, but
close enough.
Close enough. And then got a few or make sure that we have some for Origins and a few other things. So we should be geared up and good to go.
Absolutely. So you're going to have stock at Origins, correct? Will you be able to sell it? The $1 million question.
It is really tight. Like I said, it's at the port now. It's been flagged for inspection, which should theoretically go well, but that can take anywhere from 3 to 5 business days all the way to like 10, 12 business days, depending on what happens. So hopefully it doesn't take 12. Hopefully it's just a few. Thanks, Julia. I'm glad you liked it.
Hey, Andrew came to visit your booth last Origins. And of course, I didn't get to play it this weekend, so it's been about a year since I've been able to play it. So I am craving some Forges here real soon. I am looking forward to playing it again.
Yeah, I'm excited. We're excited to share it with the world. It's been a time in the making, so it's been exciting.
We are excited for you, buddy. And it's still really cool that you dropped by to see the Rundown guys, to bring a copy so that we can cover it. It's as Bob says, it definitely makes us feel good for sure. So we won't let you down.
I even stayed the night at Bob's house.
Gee, that did happen. I was talking to somebody else, another indie designer, who said he might be in the area. And as Sam knows, I've got a guest bedroom, and I told Jeff, this designer, that I've had some other designers stay, and now I'm considering putting up a sign that says "Indie Designer Airbnb" in my guest room. So,
I mean,
uh,
we need it. Yeah, honestly, it's a nice thing to do because one of the things you deal with is just cost of stuff, and when you're
yeah,
bootstrapping your business, it's nice to have a B&B sometimes that you don't have to, pay a lot of money for.
exactly. And
And
whether
you
you
ask real
realize it,
nicely, Mike brings you breakfast in bed.
I mean, there is that little like doggy door at the bottom of the door, and I slide it under prison style, but it
Yeah,
still
it's like it's
counts.
like it's like a plastic tray that he just like tosses in, like the eggs fall everywhere.
Julia, I'm loving this idea. So whether you realize this or not, Sam, actually the guys from Parakeet Griffin, they came into town, and they are one of the others that have stayed at the Indie Designer Airbnb. So,
Nice.
uh, but yeah, it's awesome to have the opportunity. Quite frankly, just the fact that you come to us and bring us opportunities, or a box of opportunity that we get to show off and champion for you is still it's very rewarding to be a part of, for
I
sure.
mean, everyone loves that new board game smell.
Yeah,
Usually,
absolutely.
unless there's neoprene mats in it, it doesn't
Well,
smell
yeah,
good. Usually,
that smells not
you
so
whip it over,
good.
you're like, "There's like tires in here."
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. My goodness, is this a Michelin board game? Uh, yeah. Yeah,
Michelin
you are not wrong
stars.
about that. I do love that cardboard smell. Oh my gosh, freshly
It's kind of
printed
like new book
chits.
smells, right? Like when you go to Barnes and
Yeah.
Noble or somewhere, and you just kind of like take a quick. Not saying you should huff it, but take the quick smell.
You know what I don't like, and I hate to say this because I've gotten some prototypes. I almost said prototype. That's a whole different thing. Some prototypes that came from Game Crafter, where they have the laser cut chits, and you basically have to wipe the edges off, or that laser dust gets everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah. So the nice thing about lasers is they cut so nicely and precisely. However,
Right.
they do just slightly make material dusting. That was actually one of the things that happened with our neoprene mats with Cold to the Deep, actually, because there's like two ways to cut mats. You can use it with like a blade, so you can actually do like a punch, or you can use lasers, and so you actually can cut the neoprene mats with lasers. And I actually really like them better with lasers
Oh wow.
because the blades don't get dull. Because blades get dull, they tear more than they cut, and so
Hmm.
you get like a lot of really raggedy edges and stuff. Or like also neoprene, if you think about it, it's stretchy a little bit. So when you push on it, it stretches the material. So it makes for some odd cutting. But if you use lasers, it makes a really nice, precise cuts and a very clean. However, it does leave some dusting on
Yeah.
the edges, some
And I've
powder.
And I got one table that's got like a black felt to it. So hey, no harm, no foul. Play on that table. But the other one that has a custom felt bottom to it, yeah, I don't play the Game Crafter games on that
Is
table.
it a white?
Yeah, so I got a white felt.
Yeah,
Protect
man,
it.
you're asking for trouble if you're playing games on white felt.
Yeah, it still looks new 10 years later, I swear. Uh, But yeah, those are the only new games that I'm like, oh man, I gotta like keep a paper towel handy to play these. But
Unfortunately. Yeah,
yeah,
so
it
all
is.
you gotta do to fix that is you just take the board game, you take the lid off, and you just run it under the sink. Right? That's how that works.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. Just shake it, and hopefully get
Well, you
some
put water in it, put the lid
gold at the
back on
bottom.
it. Shake it
Yeah,
up, pour it out, do it a few times,
yeah.
you're good to go.
It doesn't affect cardboard at all. It's weird.
Yeah, should be fine.
All right. So, do we want to get into our favorite themes?
What are you drinking tonight?
You know what's sad? And we've got this stream called Whiskey Wednesday, and I've gone almost completely away from drinking whiskey on the stream for probably about 3 months now.
Whoa.
So Unfortunately, I'm drinking vodka, vodka. So
You say you
what
vodka
about you?
water?
It's just water. This
um,
would be a lot of vodka water if
it's
that was
funny
the
because I
case.
actually spent some time planning this for this moment. I was like, all right, what kind of root beer am I drinking tonight?
Yes.
So I went with a Boylan root beer, which I have not had
Nice.
yet. Apparently, it's bottled out of New York, and people pretty like it. There's a few other ones there, but some root beers are just really herbaceous. Is it say it? One way to say it?
Earthy.
Real, yeah. Like I don't know. They're real pungent. Some of them, and not in a good way. But
I remember that you were a root beer connoisseur. You had some fancy root beer last time, if I remember correctly.
yeah, I think well, it wasn't too fancy. That's why I probably got a Spreckers, which I like.
I see that one's got pure cane sugar in it, so you know that's got to be the good stuff.
Mhm.
I like a good. It's funny. I'm not like I drink root beer all the time type of person, but I do like a really good like specialty root beer for sure.
Mhm.
Like if I'm going to a place like Culver's, I'm getting the Culver's root beer. Because they make their own. It's amazing stuff.
Oh, oh,
Uh, was that a live reaction?
there's something in here.
Cleaning up the sinuses, or are you getting sentimental about it?
Oh, I'm getting another swig there.
Maybe both.
Because it's kind of sweet at first, and then it kind of hits you with like is it a licorice? So it might be like the
Ah,
anise
oh,
and clove. Because root beer,
okay.
like, actually is like it's a few things. Usually it's sassafras, like a root, and it usually has like wintergreen and a few other things that make up the root beer flavor. But some places use different things. So some places will use like clove and anise and stuff, which makes it. Some people call it Christmassy. Um, this one definitely got something like licorice or something going on.
I don't.
Speaking of pungent,
Ooh, sold cherry wood cask bourbon. Oh my goodness. I got a port wine finish bourbon, but man, wow.
I don't know how I feel
Good
about that.
stuff. Heavy on the sarsaparilla.
Nah, it's sarsaparilla is good, but this one's got like a strong like wintergreen licorice
Wow.
aftertaste.
I don't know if that would be a good combo,
Um,
especially if it's strong.
some of the heavier root beer, like the old style, they usually are a little more pungent that way. Because a lot of times you think root beer, everyone thinks like Mug, A&W, Barks,
Right.
which are really really sweet. But not
Right.
all root beers are like root beers are generally sweet of some sort. Which question is how sweet. So I like my favorite is probably the Henry Weinhardt's or
Mm-hmm.
where it's got like some body to it, but like it's also still sweet and it just feels like foamy and like full.
Yeah.
Or this one doesn't feel that way.
None of the things. Hey, Nix. Yeah, Tim is at a baseball game that's running late. He may or may not join us tonight. Depends how late.
I'm trying to procrastinate until he gets here. I'm trying to.
Yeah, we're gonna go into our favorite root beers.
Do you
No,
like root beer at all?
yeah, I do. I only get root beer, like I said, when I'm going somewhere that is like known for their root beer or they make their own root beer. I'm not just oh yeah, give me a Barks or an A&W. Like you said, it's if I'm going to Culver's, yes, I will get Culver's root beer because it's excellent. If I'm going to a Dog and Suds, if they exist, I will have their root beer because it's excellent. But I'm not like let me get a root beer with dinner kind of person.
Yeah,
But
I'm more like having a podcast. Like, what am I going to drink tonight? So,
Man, I started this thing cold and then I'm getting hot. That must be pretty good. All right. So Sam's like, what? Uh all right, so we are doing our favorite themes tonight. And so I think we can go ahead and jump into this thing. Of course, for those that I did not mean to do that. I'm sorry.
I was sure that was a new thing you do. You just cut yourself off partway through.
I was trying to get the number 5 ready, not the 5 segue. But for those that missed the first couple minutes, the reason that we're doing a theme tonight is that Sam is taking designs, looking at some prototypes and stuff like that, potentially publishing other people's designs. So, of course, when you do that, you got to pay attention to theme and trends and things like that. Tim just got home. Cool. So maybe he'll be joining us in like 20 minutes. Tim, we were about to start with our number 5. So you haven't really missed anything at all at this point. So all right, we will start with you, Sam. Of course, with number 5. What is your 5th favorite theme in games?
All right. Is there a segue for that, or do we just go?
I haven't even been using those lately either. But because I already let you down by not having a beverage ready, let's do our number 5. I see Sam dancing in the.
It's all right. That's why I really wanted to listen to it. I just wanted a little bit of music.
Whoa. What the heck? Okay. Phew.
You right there, Mike?
Yeah. My dog yanked on the headphone cable, which pulled it out just enough for my laptop to connect to Bluetooth. So then I could hear myself on my speaker system behind me. That was really weird.
Well, you tell
crazy
Sushi
stuff.
Nice. You tell Sushi to be nice.
No, demanding attention again. Okay, without further ado, Sam, your 5th favorite theme.
Ooh. I had a tough time actually putting these in order. So I think
that is the hard part.
So what I'm going to do with these is these are probably top 5 that I would like to make, as well as things that I look forward to specifically, as well as just a kind of a general, I feel, because my number 5 right now, for example, is I love mecha. And for those who don't know, giant robots.
Nice.
Pacific Rim, Gundam.
Yeah.
I really love that stuff. And that would be amazing to do a game like that. But it's a genre that's a little tougher to do because it's very specific. In that it's not necessarily got a wide appeal to it. Like Pacific Rim did a good job doing that, but even then, that was more like a movie, right? But like board games is a giant robot board game going to catch the appeal of people. I know Giga Robo,
right?
They've kind of done a little bit, and we've had a few other ones. Like in fact, I just met with a guy today who does Ignition Core.
I'm not familiar with that one. Looks cool.
It's a tabletop skirmish game. But what it is kind of anime inspired, which is why you kind of have like these chibi Gundam kind of stuff looking. But pretty fun stuff they got going on. But that's one that I really want to do, but I haven't really found a good way of implementing it into a game. And when I do a game, it'll probably have to have some more Euro elements. And I'm just not so sure it will work for a Euro game. I don't know. Like I want it to, but
hybrid.
Maybe a hybrid, because I actually designed a game around this. I'll have to do it, but it's I don't know. Maybe now is not the time. I'm not sure what time to get it out because it's going to be a big one when it comes out. But
hybrid is some of my favorites. Dudes on a map with Euro mechanics. So I love those kind of games.
Yeah. So the game I designed it around is it's kind of like a dungeon crawler type. But yeah. But Scythe, like for example, is a problem for me because I love the theme of Scythe. I even like the game of Scythe, just not together. If that makes sense.
Not together. Oh, not together with its theme because of the mechs, you expect more combat.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I expect combat to be.
I get it.
Like I know that mechs are in the background, but they're so prevalent in that artwork and the diesel punk as well.
You're not right.
Stuff that it really threw me for a loop. Because like background, like look at see all those different mechs, and they all got guns and stuff going on. So it's like, yeah, like there should be like a lot of war happening in the background, but inside it really doesn't happen that much.
No, you're right, and there's a lot of people that have made that comment. I get it. I get it.
But at the same time,
It
though,
is
like Scythe as a game itself is actually quite good. I like Scythe. I just didn't like just my expectations were this and it was this and I
yeah,
like both, but together is like this is not gelling for me.
that's fair. That is totally
One of the
fair.
few times it's actually ever happened to me. Most
Ah,
games I either like or dislike to a certain extent.
sure.
This one I'm really torn about on a lot of levels.
I absolutely love Scythe. It was one of my favorite games for the longest time, which maybe is obvious by my 24 plays here and the 10 that I give it.
Well, that's funny.
Actually, already used that board.
I remember that one. That was funny one time because actually I talked about it and you told me I should get a new play group because of how long it took to play a game of Scythe.
I mean, yeah, they say 115 minutes on the box, and I always play the bottom action does not affect any other player. So if somebody is picking which one and acting on it, the next person starts their top row action. That's the only way I play it. And that keeps that game, even with 5 players, at right around 2 hours.
Yeah. For Eric, his question, a Euro like a defense game with Mecha. I mean, I would love to do it, but like it's hard to be convinced that the Mecha theme is going to sell well. So I love it and I want to do it. But also, if I create a game with Mecha, which either has standees or miniatures or something along those lines, right? It has to sell enough. And if I was a bigger company, I could take the risk on it. But as an indie, like a really bad selling game is going to really just kill us. So like, is it risky? I think it is. Do I want to do it? Oh heck yeah, I want to do it, but I don't know. Maybe I think too much about it. I should just do it.
That's I'm with you though. I love the idea of mechs in games. There aren't that many of them that stand out though. So it does kind of buck the trend. And I think there's a lot of people would see it. Yes, anthropomorphic animals piloting mechs. Yes. Yes.
That would be like talk about a conglomerate. I'm not sure who would actually play that game.
I'm here for it. Right here. Right here. But I
Right.
like
That's one cell. Okay. If I could make like a couple thousand of you, then we'll be okay.
all right, I'll go on a recruiting campaign. I got you. Yeah, Tim's here for it. Yeah, and as Andrew said, anything with anthropomorphic animals sells. So
I got to be honest, that was a little bit of a factor when we made Forges of Ravenshire. But on top of that was the fact is the artist I got to do it. That was the main factor. If I couldn't get her, I probably wasn't going to do it. I was going to do something more serious. I was going to do a little more like Feast of Odin look, like kind of like a very serious historical version of it. I'm glad I went anthropomorphic though.
I think what we do, Sam, is we stay in the Forges of Ravenshire universe. However, we move forward roughly 200 years, and now the animals have learned technology. They're able to build mechs now. And so what you're doing is competing to be the best town mech builder. Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
boy.
I don't
Sorry.
like part of that's either going to do well or not. I don't know, man. I know Mike left me, but I'll just keep talking to you guys. I don't need Mike. So yeah, like let me know in the comments or whatever if you think like if yours a game that was kind of like a Euro mecha, is that something that you would play? Is it because of the Euro aspect, or like I'll play any game as long as it's a Euro, or is it more like is the mecha even appealing at all to you as a thought? Because if you really think about number of games that have mecha in them, there's only a handful. Okay, I I kind
I
of
can
like the next
already
building fight the human. That's kind of like that one.
I can already tell very early I'm gonna probably end up getting something chewed up that's gonna make me mad. So I'm gonna have to probably run off a couple times tonight. Sign me up for the Euro Mech game. Oh my god. If you want that game, like this video.
Yeah, I mean, because I got one designed, at least prototypes. I've actually been played it for this a few times, but it's just I love it. It's just not the right time, right place, I guess. Maybe one day.
All right. Well, I'll go to my number 5 theme, and there's one particular game that has this theme, and it's one of my favorite games ever. But I don't think there are enough games that utilize time travel. I love time travel in board games, and I especially like the way it is done in Anachrony. Uh,
Yeah, I
Anachrony
knew you were
for
going to say that.
being Anachrony for being such a heavy game does such a good job of integrating its theme, and that's why it doesn't really feel as heavy as it actually is when you see all these icons all over the place and you're trying to figure out what the heck you're supposed to be doing. But and the fact that when you're teaching this game, you have to explain the theme, and it helps you learn it. Like, hey, we've actually we're going to be hit by a cataclysm. We're going to discover a resource. Resource allows us to travel in time. So we're going to borrow resources from ourselves in the future to use now. When we get to the future, aka a future round, then we've got to again donate those resources to our past self, or we can create a anomaly in the space time continuum. I love that. I love that. And I
That
love like the loop incorporated or the loop. Yes. Both of those being time travel games. And I thought they used their theme well, but Anachrony blows those games away. And I just don't think enough games use this theme.
I think because it's kind of time travel is a hard enough subject for people to even agree on, right? Because there's even different like ideas of time travel. Because even like in the Avengers, which is a nice boiled down version, like so. I guess spoilers for Avengers: Infinity War. Uh, when they describe time travel in that movie, like they do a pretty good job of actually explaining it to a certain extent. But like there's different like takes on time travel, how it works, and so it's kind of a conceptually a little weird to think about sometimes.
Yeah. And I
Um,
would think even harder to conceptually design mechanics around because of that.
mhm. And there's
Yeah,
been a
I
few
can
games.
see that.
There was actually there was like an anime-esque game. It was like Crime and Time. I can't remember what it was, but you'd have to actually travel in time to deal with different crimes because the results of those crimes ended up changing the timeline. And so you have to go like detective and figure out what happened and then find the people responsible for it and stuff.
Interesting.
And
And
that one was apparently pretty crazy. But like time mechanics, you don't see it often. When it's done well, though, it's really good.
this is the older one that people kind of forgot about that came before the loop by Scott Ohms, which is interesting too, with Juanchi Maria art. Um, yeah, there's not a lot. I get it. It is the concept and getting the mechanics to work around it, but when it is done well, it you know it. So one of my favorite games ever. Partly because of its theme.
And that's Anachrony, right?
Yeah, Anachrony is
A
my
game that I need to play.
when we did our top 50, I put it at number 2 this year. And I think Bob still has it as his number 1. So
Oh, really?
way up there. It is fantastic. It's also on BGA, and the fact that I've been able to play it more on there moved it up my
Oh, is it a board
ranking.
game arena?
It is. Yeah.
Well, I know what I want to play with you guys online.
It helps a lot just being able to be able to play it on there for sure, because it's a lot to set up. It is a lot to set up, and it's a lot to teach, but the concepts are pretty easy. There's just a lot to explain.
Yep.
But yeah, time travel is my number 5. But yeah, I totally get why it's hard to design for. Let's move to number 4. Well, dang it! I gotta set him up better next time. You'll think I don't like him anymore.
Sorry, anyway. Something about like the kind of the jazziness. I'm just like,
right? It's a finger snapping for sure.
Yeah, I love it. All right, so my number 4 is one that's part of one of my favorite games now, and that is something that's more historical based. So historical stuff I really like, especially
Nice.
when it's taken in the context of like a civilization like game.
Nice.
So like Mosaic is one of my favorite games. I would say top 3
Nice.
right now, easily.
Wow.
Because I just the way that game flows and everything else, but the idea, though, is kind of the historical idea, is kind of there, and I think it bleeds through pretty well. Kind of more historical aspects to it. Plus, it's nice when teaching someone. They're like, "Oh, Romans," and not everyone's this way, but they're like, "Oh, they like to build armies and stuff and do things." I'm like, yes, they do. And then they're like, well, Egyptians, well, they build things. Like, yes, they do. Like, it's really thematically, it's easy to match ideas to those types of things because we've all learned them our entire lives as we went to school, about the Egyptians and the Romans and stuff. So, and the Greeks, like the idea that they have more like they're better at getting technology because the thing, or maybe because they're fighting with like the Spartans and things. So like there's different aspects you can call into in those games and make it really easy and thematically to get people engaged and onto a subject and an idea of how something works. Plus, I love Civ, so Civilization. When I say Civ, I mean Civilization, specifically probably like Sid Meier's Civilization, the computer game. But I really look forward to you guys talked about a Civ game that I should play.
Yes. Indeed. Well, you got Bob's interest. He's a huge Civ fan. I like Civ games, but there are just some of them where just the setup and play time actively makes me not want to play them. As much as I enjoy Mosaic, the setup in that game where you have to do all the tiles, flip them, and then remove like 40% of them. But I love the mechanics of
But if you do
Mosaic.
but like that's what I found. Like if you have a good director of operations to get that game set up,
There you go.
like it does well. It's like, all right, you play with the tiles over here. Like if you actually also you can separate the tiles. So you have like the brown tiles and the other tiles. So you actually, all right, you all the compasses put this here. You all the ports put this here. You put these down. Your job. We're gonna get these organized. And so like as you go on, you can get set up probably in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's a lot. But yeah, it is a great game for sure. And what we were talking about was Path of Civilization, the newest one from Captain Games. It's fantastic. And it plays pretty quickly. It's just a card-based Civ game. But it does a good job of giving you like tech upgrades as you go along. So you definitely feel stronger as you go, but it's 100% card driven. It's just got a really interesting action selection to it.
And I would love to see something along the more like a Civ game, but in space, which for those who do computer games, Alpha Centauri. But like I would love to see something like that.
Like what about Stellaris? Did that one interest you?
Oh yeah, Stellaris is a great game. Like along those lines where you start your civilization, but the thing about civilization, you see this just huge progression in like technology, I would say.
Yeah.
And it's hard to see when you're already a spacefaring, right? But there are certain things you can do there. I think that'd be really quite interesting and kind of fun to do. Space Mosaic.
Yeah, a great game for someone else to set up. Set that up. I'll be there in a minute.
Actually, do you know what else what you do is you go to conventions and you sign up for events. Because then you are literally going into someone is setting it up for you in advance.
Here, I'm ready. Yeah. Just get to show up. You get the easy job.
Yep.
No, that's a good pick. I do like some Civ games. I haven't played enough of them though. Speaking of Stone Meyer misappropriated themes, do you enjoy Tapestry?
Okay, this is another one that I have mixed feelings on.
Because
So
it's yeah, go
I
ahead.
knew going in that Tapestry was not going to be quite a Civ game
Hmm.
because I've heard from other people. So I was trying to keep an open mind on it. I played Tapestry. The Civ aspect that it tries to show just does not work. However, the game is quite fun.
Exactly.
It's another game I'm so perplexed on because I think the Stonemeyer does this very well. They always have a good flow to their games.
Right.
And flow specifically meaning like, because Scythe is like, you do the top action, like with the bottom action. The way the thing, like the way, and then you move your thing, do a top action, bottom action. Like it's super easy, but you have a lot of good choices to get at trying to figure out. And so Stonemeyer does a good job with this on a lot of the games, and they do a good job with that in Tapestry. But the problem with Tapestry is the theme makes no sense with the game, like kind of, but not really.
It tracks the game. And if they hadn't had advertised it as a Civ game, I don't, or put it on the box, I don't think people would have that commentary wouldn't be there, you
Now
know.
that game should have time travel because that's what makes more sense to me. Because my first technology was jet fuel, and later on, I discovered stone tools. So
Yeah, right. Does jump around too. The Civs go
it,
from like one era to another.
they're like because they're all conglomerated together and just kind of do this
Yeah.
thing. And like, yes, there's a theme. Yes, the components are cool.
Hmm.
Yes, there's good artwork and things, but like it just doesn't make sense. The thing is, like, and when they sell it though, they sell it like a Civ game.
Right. Yeah.
And the thing is, it kind of does play like a Civ game, just in terms of city.
That's a Bobism. This was one of the first games I played that I remember going, okay, now this is overproduced. See that cool building? What are you going to do with that? Oh, I'm going to set it here. That's it? It just sits there? Yeah, yeah, yeah. It
Well,
just
you got
sits
points and
there.
stuff.
You get points and stuff. I just thought, like, man, why is there so much expense put into these buildings that don't go onto a map? They just sit on this sideboard.
Yeah, but see, this is where if that was more like a city, which is what it's supposed to kind of do,
Yeah.
then I think if it made more sense as a city and things went together a little more, even with a slight mechanic stuff, I think it'd be fine. It wouldn't be considered overproduced. But I think because all those pieces are so all over the place, and you just put them in this thing, and there's some points involved, but like it's real. The
Yeah,
game is all over the place. Like
it is.
it's all over the
Tracks the
place.
game. Yeah,
But
it is a
honestly,
good
I
game.
encourage anyone to play it because it was quite fun.
It is a good game. Yeah, I only got to play it once a long time ago. I'd love to play it again. It just hasn't happened. But yeah, I did enjoy it for sure. But yeah, like you said, you really do kind of jump around when you're picking up those tacks. You can go from jet fuel to just all over the place. And the same with those buildings. They jump from era to era too.
And I think is what happens is there's not a sense of progression in terms of the narrative. Like there's
Yeah.
progression for your abilities and what your abilities do, but there's not really a progression on the narrative of like technologies and things, which is one of the predominant things you find in Civ games or Civi games.
Yeah, it doesn't Civi games exactly. Yeah, it doesn't have that natural progression at all, really. Yeah, it's very true.
All right.
Um, yeah, good pick. Um, I just need to play more of those kind of games. All right. So my number four is we've talked about this theme in a few different contexts already, and I really like games that have animals in nature. I love these games. Forges of Ravenshire is perfectly a good fit for this list. Darwin's Journey and Researching Animals. I was relearning La Isla from Stefan Feld, Arc Nova, Earth, Encyclopedia.
Okay,
Dan-
I gotta ask this question then. So you're saying that badger's natural habitat is a smithy?
no, this one definitely is not a. Yours is definitely not a nature theme. I'm reaching for sure. It's
Okay, because I thought
animal.
like
It's a
yes,
cool.
this ferret belongs in. He's an alchemist, and he belongs in the lab blowing up stuff up. Like
Well, in Ravenshire, he does. Um, but I'd also go to dandelions, mountain goats, the spill, forest shuffle, boop, wingspan, even the tacked on theme of Ahoy Kitten. If there's like nature or animals, I'm just interested. That theme always kind of pulls me in, especially if there's some way that the game can teach me something about these animals. I really appreciate that. I still thoroughly enjoy Wingspan, and I still find the fact that the flavor text is useful information to be a wonderful part of that game. I got a lot of people into the hobby and a lot of people to buy that game. So Wingspan, of course, is one of the first one that comes to mind.
so, would you
Um,
consider Wormspan in that position as well, or no?
I'd consider that more of a fantasy theme. You know, I don't. That's not necessarily. It's fictional characters, so it's got to be fantasy.
That's fair
Um,
because it has like a
so
very naturalist aesthetic.
yeah, it really
Because
does.
you got to go explore the cave to find the dragon. They put the dragon's places in there. Like it feels very much like a. Well, it's based on Wingspan, so yeah, but like it
Hmm.
kind of has that same feel to it, like kind of like a naturalist idea, but it's dragons instead.
I really need to play Wormspan. Um, yeah, I haven't played that one yet. I heard it is an improvement for sure.
I want to try it
Um,
for sure.
Earth, another one I really like, of course. Yeah, there's so many good animal and nature games that it
Cascadia.
had to. Yeah, Cascadia is pretty good. It's not one of my favorites, but it's a solid game. There are so many. I mean,
Do
I
you
didn't go.
disagree with the Spiel des Jahres?
No, I think it's a pretty good tile laying game. It's got kind of like two separate scoring mechanisms that you're going for, not just the tiles, but also the animals that you place on top. It's clever. I think it's a good game. Um, the thing is the spiels, they're not always going to be the games that you want them to be anyway, if you're a real hobby gamer. Some of them are maybe, but most of them aren't. Um, I don't know. I've enjoyed several Spiel winners. Maybe Cascadia is one of my least favorites, honestly.
I usually enjoy them all for what they are because they're all well designed games.
Absolutely, yeah, correct. And they tend to be on the lighter side, which I'm fine with. For some people, not everybody likes the lighter side of gaming. I do, as long as they are well done.
Like a Hoy Kitten.
Uh, yes, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Tim's of the ilk that the Spiel is like the Oscars. I wouldn't go that far.
I care a
But
little more about the Spiel than Oscars.
well, yeah, exactly. I don't pay any attention to those. Or the Grammys. The Grammys are awful, awful. There's nothing worse than the Grammys.
Well, instead of bad mouthing them, should we go to number three?
Yeah, let's do that. Number three.
All right, for number three, this is one that I was really hyped about, and I was going to make a game in this theme, and then someone did it first, and so now I'm having to rethink some things about it,
Uh oh.
and so that's fine. We'll work on it. But the game in question was Mistwind.
Ooh.
Flying whales. Fantasies.
Those are flying whales, all right.
Well, and there's been a few games. There's another game where you were
We're
a
having issues
flying
here.
ship, and your goal was to like go whaling for these like extra like for these whales in the sky and stuff. So it was whaling in the sky. I can't remember what it was called, like Sky Cutter. I can't remember what it was, but
Why can't I find Mistwind?
it's all one word.
There we go. Jeez. Yeah, there we go. I don't know what my problem is. Dog distractions.
So
Yeah, flying whale. I was like, what in the heck is this when I saw this box cover?
I was super hyped about it because the whole idea that it turns transportation a little on its head, right? And it's kind of whimsical and fantastical, but also like real. Like it's a boat, right? You're taking a whale, you're putting stuff on it. It's a boat, it's got a mast and stuff, and so you're going around. Like it's a pretty cool idea. I like the idea of it. I really do.
So what theme would you call this?
I call it Sky Whales.
So this is a very specific theme.
It's a very specific genre theme, Sky Whales. And so technology usually is at that like 1700s, 1600s ish time frame, maybe the early 1800s. And so like it's usually like a little bit of like the era of sail with whales, if whales were a boat in the sky.
Yeah, this is wild. Yeah, I want to play this just because I want to know what the heck this is.
So I played it. What it is, it's you're a merchant. You're a part of you own your own company, and your goal is to take your caravans, your whale caravans, and to get them to different places or nations around the map. Whale punk, maybe.
Well,
Probably less punk and more like whale sail whales.
What's up, Jim? I love the art in this.
No, the game is really pretty. So what it is you're on these caravans. You're trying to get resources. So it's a pick up and deliver game. You're trying to take resources, put them on your caravans or your whales, get them to certain areas, and fulfill orders. And then you fulfill orders and do stuff, and then pick up stuff from here and go over here, and you can get multiple whales. On that route, though, you can add these little outposts, which can help you move faster or get certain resources and things. How it works, though, is when you take actions, there's an action selection, and there's kind of like this number on it. So I can't remember exactly. So you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on your numbers and stuff. I can't remember exactly how it works, but it's some kind of little clever idea with it. We'll have to play it again sometime if you want.
I mean, it looks great. I really like the look of the board art, and then of course these crazy flying whale miniatures.
The only thing that kept me probably from getting it was the price of the game. It was like $120 or something like that.
Wow, who published this? First Fish Games? I'm not familiar with them. Designed by Daryl Andrews. That is nice.
That's Sagrada, I believe, right?
Yes. Yeah, he's got several designs. There he is. What's up?
I am so sorry I was late. I was so late. I was like, I'm not even going to get on. I feel really bad. Clark
You should
had
get on. I even got a root beer just in honor of this occasion.
Yeah.
I saw you had a sarsaparilla. Yeah, Clark had baseball. It went long, and then my niece is graduating high school and got a bunch of awards, and then like it was like, hey, you need to come over and see all of her awards, and I could not do that because it's my niece, and you know, I'm the funkle, you know, the fun uncle. So then it like though everything was getting blown up, and I'm like, instead of just being angry that I'm late, I'm just gonna say I can't make it. And then if I can make it, and I was watching and commenting, so then I was like, I might as well just at least pop on. I can't stay on super long, but I want to come on at least and harass y'all a bit.
Yeah. So talking about sky whales.
Yeah,
I saw
Sam,
that.
is this officially out yet?
No,
Because-
it was a Kickstarter 6-8 months ago. How long ago was
Okay.
it?
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, this was very recent. I'm
I
just seeing the
was
2024, but I think that was just the campaign date.
I cannot express my disappointment when I played Mythwind and it did not have flying whales in it.
Oh, because
Yes.
Mythwind. That's right. Because Mythwind is a different game than Mistwind.
Yeah, and I thought when we were getting to review Mythwind, I was like, Sam told me about this game because I remember talking to you at your booth, I think at Origins, and you're like, Tim, you need to go over to that booth, stop when you see the flying whales and check that out. And I kept trying to get over there, but they had a huge crowd like the whole time. So I didn't really have a good opportunity other than to admire it a little bit from a distance. So flying whales is your number 3 theme?
Yeah, because there's another game I wanted to play, and I can't remember what it was now, but and I remember liking it. It was you were the captain of a whaling ship, but you were flying in the clouds.
Nice.
And so you're trying to do any of these sky whales that you had to hunt down for the whaling process. It was, I don't know, man. I like sky whales. They're cool.
So I think this technically falls under Mike's previous favorite theme, where it was just like anything with an animal counts.
Yeah.
Well,
This is whales in natural habitat.
I only went with non-fictional animals, though, Tim. I did not use.
I heard you guys talk about
Wormspan.
Wormspan.
And I did. I said that was a fantasy theme, so that would not include flying whales because they don't exist. But this game intrigued me just because of the flying whale on the box cover. I mean, and the art's gorgeous. I gotta say though, I don't love pick up and deliver. It's got to be done well. So I'm a little disappointed to find out it's pick up and deliver.
This Eric fella knows things.
Eric knows what's up. He's a smart dude. I love pick up and deliver. I think it's fun when done right.
You should really try Mistwind. I really like aspects of Mistwind. I have a hard time pick up and deliver, but there's different aspects of Mistwind I really, really like. Yes, Woodward.
It just there aren't really any pick up and deliver games that like really hit the mark for me, unfortunately.
You didn't play Quests and Cannons with us when we had that prototype, did you, Mike?
Oh,
I did not.
Wow.
I like that one. I mean, there's more to do other than just pick up and deliver, but that is an aspect of it.
There has to be, because just pick up and deliver is not enough for me.
Hopefully
Sure.
that one fulfills soon.
Yeah. It should be pretty close. I feel like they've been very transparent with
I
like
think
the
he's on the
process
final-
and their
He's the very final production part now.
yeah.
All right, Tim, do you want to go ahead and
hop in?
jump into your 5 and 4?
Yeah, I'll bust through my first 2 really fast. And this is no joke. I honestly mean this. My number 5, when a game does this in a way that I enjoy it, I really, really, really love it. And I wish there were more games that did this. City building. I know Foundations of Rome, literally city building, but it doesn't do it for me. But like Lords of Vegas, like does, like you're buying up those, you've got those plots, you're developing them. I enjoyed New York 1901. I don't even know that you need city building with the polyomino. I think there's a bunch of different ways you can do city building, like cards, what I mean? Like things like that as you're like Machikoro even, right? Like Machikoro, you play Machikoro, you're buying the things and you're adding all the things to your town, It's a little more, or it doesn't feel as tactile, as some of the other city building games, but it technically is.
Suburbia is one of my favorites.
I really do enjoy Suburbia. I watched a ton of people play Skyrise last weekend. Was it Skyrise? Is that the name of it? That game looks freaking beautiful.
Building and stuff.
I wouldn't say it's necessarily city building, but I can see that. Castles of Burgundy, I would say, is loosely city building.
Sure.
One of my favorites.
So
it's a bit more abstracted, but yeah.
So I do like that. I do like that.
City building is fun. I really like city building video games a lot.
Well, yeah, me too. I used to play SimCity just like all the
That's a
time.
lot of our childhoods.
Yeah.
I mean, even
Yeah.
more recently, I've played the heck out of City Skylines. I thoroughly enjoy that game.
Wasn't
Terrible
there a
board
new
game.
release for that recently?
Yes, there's a City Skylines too, and they totally butchered the plumbing in it.
Oh.
You can't get water to people. I don't know what they did. But the board game, though, awful. Don't try the board game. It's terrible. Sorry.
So I mean, I guess so. Like Skyrise, right? Is it the theme is city building? So I guess it still counts, right? Like if you give it, if, you get that area control and the bidding and stuff, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Nick's.
It is a great game, though.
So
I
that's
liked it
the
a lot
beauty
more.
of like themes, though, right? Because we think of themes like, oh, it's got to be like this, like
Right.
military themes. Oh, it's area control. Doesn't have to be though.
And if
Go on,
BGG is the tiebreaker here, it does say that it is a city building game. So Skyrise.
Listen, I don't need BGG to validate my feelings.
No, but like in general, we sometimes when you think of themes, a lot of times you think of certain mechanics to go along with them,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes breaking out of that can be actually a good thing because then you're like, oh, we do it this way. That's interesting. That's fun. It's a different way of looking at city building. So building these towers and doing all that stuff going up, and like, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I support that 100%.
It's a really good game too.
Yeah, I want to play it. I do love that theme. I love that idea, and I think it's because of all of the Sim City and Civilization and stuff like that games. I know you guys were talking a little bit about some of that earlier. That those sort of themes, but I kind of wanted to drill down into one aspect of it, right? But I could see like a very cool co-op city building game where even then you have like events that are like disasters or things you've got to get done, in a certain amount of turns because this is coming or that's coming or this is going to happen. There was one I used to play a lot on PC. It was called Pharaoh, and so you were like building an Egyptian city, and you needed to have like apothecaries. So you'd like somebody would work there, and then they would walk up and down through your town, right? And then so you needed to like check the coverage of like the apothecaries, and there was like dentists, and but then you also had like people that would go out and cut reeds, and then they bring it back to the store yards, and then people would come from the papyrus shops and get the reeds and take them there, and so then they would make the paper, and then they could go to the library. You know what I mean? So like everything all fed into it, and then every couple of because you like play through scenarios, and then every couple of scenarios you needed to build like a monument or a pyramid. So then you needed all of that sort of stuff, right? So it was just a very cool game, and I loved those kind of computer games and video games, and would love some sort of port or translation that would work on the board game table, But anyway, sorry. My number 2 theme, and I'm not pandering to Sam, even though because I genuinely mean this, and I know Bob's got my back on this. I love, and I'm not like a crazy person, I swear. Don't believe everything you see in Discord. I love cult themed games. It was like, why Cult of the Deep? I was drawn to Cult of the Deep like right away. That's no BS though. But like Bob and I love games like Evil High Priest. There's some games like that, like Kingsport Festival. I'm a Lovecraftian guy, right? I could just say like Lovecraft theme. But again, like drill down into an aspect of it, whether you're thwarting a cult or you're part of a cult or, like all that stuff. As a kid, those were the movies that always scared me the most. And I like scary movies though. So like, when like Rosemary's Baby, right? Like terrifying. So anyways, Jim Jones, the game. Oof. Everybody gets Flavor Aid at the end. I'm not a crazy person. Yeah. If you've got to say it, that probably means you are.
Next Kickstarter page, I'm using that quote.
Yeah. I'm not a crazy person, but I like cool. Yeah, that's it. That's the review for your next game.
Yeah, just say I'm not a crazy person. Just Tim. That's it. That's all it says.
Board game rundown. Oh, shit. But no, I really like cult themed games, especially when they're done really well. It's just a fun theme. So that would be my number 4.
Speaking of which, we got to play Cthulhu Wars again. I actually really enjoyed myself.
Oh, dude, I got to play it again over the
I think
weekend.
you won the time that we played.
Did I win? I can't remember if I won or not. I can check my BGG app.
It was really fun though. It was really quite enjoyable.
That's all that mattered. Like when I'm teaching people, especially a game I love, if they had a great time, or at least not a miserable time, I'm like, I feel like I won, right? Like I know Wes went and bought a bunch of Cthulhu War stuff right after we played it.
We had a great time, dude.
So, also good company.
Hey, Chris, don't put my name on that. Don't just because I said that before doesn't mean.
But anyways, yeah, I will 1,000,000% play Cthulhu Wars again, pretty much any time.
Actually, I'll pretty much play any game with you guys at this point.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. If Sam rolls into town and is like, "Hey, we're gonna play whatever," I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm going over to wherever Sam is. I'm gonna play whatever. So.
Because actually, I think after you left, Tim, we played Ahoy Kitten.
Oh, that's my most played game this year. I love it so much. What'd you think of Ahoy Kitten?
Oh, I really liked it.
Yeah, it's super
fun. What's hilarious is like 2 days later, I ran into Mayday Games at ACD Games Day. And they're like, "Oh, Ahoy Kitten, I really love that." Well, I was planning on getting that for my kids. They're like, "Well, come to the show, and we'll just give you a copy."
Did you tell them that you played it with the Board Game Rundown guys?
Yes.
Was Seth there? Did he say
he was not there?
Oh, okay. Because it may not have landed on anybody else other than Seth. But Seth, because we talked about,
so I was hoping he was there, but
because we talked about it so much, he reached out to us and was like, "Can I come on the show?" I was like, "Well, of course you can."
And then we talked about it so much when he was on the show, he later sent me a copy.
Yeah. Then I'm going to buy a second copy and combine it so we can have longer Ahoy Kitten games because we were playing it and at the max player count and everybody's like, this is too short.
It's a little longer.
So yeah.
Yeah, and plus you can increase the player count that way.
Yeah, also true. All right, Mike, what's your number 3? Right, because we're on 3.
Yeah, we are on number 3. Okay, so this is where I start to, like I said, this is where I kind of think I won't have a whole lot of crossover. Because I sometimes like these serious themes. I like things that are based on real life. I want to see a game's interpretation of things that I work with on a daily basis. So I really like economic and business games. And there's so many good ones. And I haven't played a ton of really heavy ones, but I've played a lot of medium weight games that I really, really enjoy, and I'll get to those heavy ones. So I'm talking about, well, first of all, Smartphone Inc. That I think that game is nearly perfect for me. I absolutely love Smartphone Inc. It is incredibly elegant. It introduces tech upgrades and logistics and pricing your goods, which determines how many points you're going to get per good. But by having your price lower, you get to act first, meaning you're going to get to sell more. And that whole intriguing priority based off of price is a fascinating mechanism in Smartphone Inc. That's why it's one of my favorite games. This weekend, I played Big Boss, which is great. I played The Great Split, which was very interesting. That is I split, you choose type of game, but it's sort of like you're moving up these tracks and trying to increase the amount of points you can get.
That theme felt completely arbitrary to me. Not as offensively arbitrary as Scout, but I had no idea what the theme was for The Great Split, and I didn't care. It did not affect my enjoyment. I still had a nice time playing it.
Yeah. Brass Birmingham, Food Chain Magnate, Ponzi Scheme, Union Pacific, Container, Clans of Caledonia, Huey,
yes,
Chinatown.
Chinatown's good.
Stockpile, Nucleum, Imperial, Pan Am, Great Western Trail, The Estates. I love all of those games, and they are based on economic and business themes, and I think they're fascinating.
There was one game I played at BGG Con a year ago, Was it Barrels and something? It was like a market game because you could buy resources at certain amounts and you sold them at certain amounts too, and the market would change based on what you sold and different things like that. I can't remember what it was called.
Love that kind of stuff in games.
You're gonna be mad at me because I played it.
I have not played Barrage, Chris. I got a
Oh,
copy
Barrage is
back
good.
here.
Barrage
I
is
just
good.
haven't played it yet. Imperial, Nucleum, Tenner's Trail. I
Nucleum's pretty
love
good?
it. Yeah, I did really enjoy Nucleum. Yeah, it's got that route building, but the action selection is very clever. And then you can take as many actions as you want. And then when you pass, you take an income turn. Another mechanic I really like in gaming. And you're just kind of building up ways to deliver Nucleum to get points and stuff. I thought it was very, very good.
You played
Very
Kutnahora?
Have I played what?
Kutnahora?
No, that's like at the top of like towards the top of my wish list.
If you want to talk about an interesting marketplace, depending on how your production increases, it'll actually change the market. Because the market's like 30 cards, but like back to back. And there's also like sliders. So depending on how it's developed and how it progresses in time, your marketplace will change based on those cards. It's actually quite fascinating how they did it. It's quite good. So here's these two little things in the back there.
Yeah.
So it's the card. And so you may build something that shows time being happening. So you'll advance the marketplace. But then when you build buildings that produce those things, you'll then shift the marker. So there's two elements working together to then change the marketplace.
You're just talking my language. I just enjoy speculation and market manipulation in games. I just like how different games are able to work within that theme. And yeah, this one, yeah, no joke, is I've been wanting to pick this up for several months now. Hopefully I'll check it out at Gen Con, and that'll be enough excitement for me to pick up a copy. Because yeah, when I tell people I love these kind of games, they're like, "Oh, if you played Kutnahora," I'm like, "No,
I love these games."
yes, not yet."
You're only a year behind. Don't worry about it.
And I mean, also check Games Edition. Just I really love everything they put out. I think they do a great job.
Yeah, they're probably perfect for you in terms of design, a lot of ways.
Yeah, I gotta check that one out. The City of Silver. All right,
Tim, do you have a number 3?
I do have a number 3. My number 3 is it's kind of generic, but I don't know how to put a finger on it, right? It's not as generic as just real animals like Mike's. But it is generic yeah, it's sort of general though. Weird.
What, you want me to pick space whales?
Yeah, that's specific. I like really, I'm drawn to very weird themed games. Like I haven't played, but I really want to play Cosmic Frogs. I know nothing about it other than that it's weird. I actually I haven't played yet, but I picked up Glow because I saw Sam's copy. Again, looks weird. Vagrant Song I really like. It's a really weird theme. You're like hobos on a ghost train. What?
So it's also the name of the company. It's weird.
Weird themes is less generic than real life animals.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, because you went and we were like Forges of Ravenshire all the way to Cascadia. And why would you even mention a crap game in with like a good game? That makes no sense to me.
Sam did.
I do not like Cascadia.
I can't. Okay, I was about to say.
When you guys were talking about
share winner.
Yeah. But no, I really enjoy like really bizarre kind of out there themes. I don't know how you would categorize like a thing like that, right? Like Fearsome Wilderness.
True. It's too generic.
It's weird is what it is. But I just really, really, really like weird, like off the wall, themes, I will give a game a shot. Like the weirder the theme is, like I'm definitely gonna try at least check it out. I had a guy, we've got to play this thing still, Mike, but there's a guy who made a game about drug trafficking in Colombia called Cocaine. And it's like loosely based on Go, but and it's a weird abstract game. But you know what? It's like, that's so weird. I gotta at least try it.
That sounds like an indie game.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a CMON. Just kidding. No, but yeah, just a really weird off the wall bananas theme. Like I'm in, I'll try it. Like I want to know.
That's the beauty of like indie games is people are not afraid to put out something that's just different. They don't care.
Yeah,
they care, but
yeah, they care, but and you never know, you might strike that right chord though, where it's like, like Cosmic Frog, it's got great art and a bananas theme, and I don't know.
So you like the just something that throws you off, something that
yeah.
That'll throw you off.
So what about what's Seppi's game?
Oh yeah, any of Seppi's games. End of the Line, Conquest Princess, Processing. What's it?
He has like these off the wall ideas that you're like, that's different. That's definitely you, buddy.
It's yeah. Give me all the weird crap. I
just love that he just like embraces it and just does it. It's like, you know what? You go, man. Because I don't think I have the confidence to do that.
Just lean into it and run with it. Yeah.
It is. Yeah, he has embraced some weird themes for sure, like processing humans for meat down this conveyor belt. Yeah, that's processing.
Yeah, it's fun.
Servisaurus Rex.
Servisaurus Rex was very cool. Got to play that over the weekend. Cubitos is a weird theme,
That is a weird theme. Cube figures. I don't know what it's going for.
Oh, isn't that like the cube with Lederhosen? Is that what that is?
Yeah, I love that game. I wouldn't shut up about it for a long time.
It's Cheese Bob SquarePants.
I've heard it's that versus Quacks and Quedlinburg.
I feel like it's more like that versus like a Quarriors. I think it's closer to Quarriors, but with racing.
Oh.
Cosmoctopus is a weird theme. It's a space octopus.
I want to play that, and I want to play Abduction. Also, again, for just sort of the weird theme. Like, okay, I'm in.
See, that's weird and a cult. So therefore,
look at that. It bumps it from like you combine my 4 and 3, and it kind of makes it a 2. Is that how that math works? I don't know.
Well, and then what you do is you have it over a city that's being built.
Really weird. Just make it really weird.
I was trying to find some others that have some weird themes.
Fearsome Wilderness is a really weird theme. You are all like early American legends, so you're like Paul Bunyan and Johnny Appleseed, and you wake up on this weird shore, and you are venturing out into the wilderness to like grab some wood and come back. But if you go too far, you start having weird dreams, and then there's like different monsters that will attack you. It's really bizarre. It's not a perfect game, but the theme is so interesting. Like, and there's a ton of lore in the book. It's really weird.
It takes you on an adventure.
Yeah.
It is a clever game for sure. There's some other Stemfeld, his weirdest theme. I still don't understand bonfire. It's based off of like tree spirits or something. Although it does give what looks like Grogu.
I was going to say that's the one with the Grogu meeples. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It is the weirdest theme. The bonfires are a source of light, energy, and warmth created by guardians of light. Okay, sure.
You need the bonfire to cook all your chicky nuggies for Grogu's. Chicky nuggies.
Oh,
Should it be like frog eggs or something like that?
Yeah, probably. But all the songs that my kids listen to that use Grogu, they say chicken nuggies. So
where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where are they? I'm
scroll
so far
down.
zoomed in, I can't tell
Scroll
where
down.
things are.
There you
There
go.
you go.
Left.
There
Right
you
there.
go. Yeah. I mean, they look like Grogu meeples. They really do. Those are the
Are they wearing
horse.
hats or like what's going on there?
They're like these forest sprites or something. I don't know. It's a weird
They're Grogu's.
theme.
Got it.
Yes, they're the guardians of the light.
Done.
It's so strange.
Settled science at this point.
All right.
Yeah,
Should we move on to our number twos?
Let's do it.
we should. Tim, I just want to say quickly that Sam demanded I bring back the number segue.
Oh, I heard him shame you into it, and I love it.
Love it. All right, number two. This is actually relevant now because there's kind of a Raider Knizia game on the Kickstarter with this theme. And the best way to describe it is I would call it airship fantasy. Where it's kind of like the steampunk, but instead of being strictly in the steampunk Victorian, it's kind of outside of it. And you kind of see it in like all kinds of different movies and things, but it's like airships are more of a thing than they actually are. So, like, one of my favorite games, miniature games, is oh crap, I just let it blank.
Were you talking about Rebirth that's currently on Kickstarter?
Yeah, Rebirth.
Knizia game.
Oh gosh, why
Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea with all the airships.
No? It is kind of like that, but it's a miniatures game. It's oh man, you have the Atlanteans and the Americans. Crap, it's a naval war game.
Oh,
but one of the factions, the Germans, the Prussians, they have a lot of airship. So not Leviathans. Leviathans is kind of that aesthetic though, kind of like flying airship boats. It used to be by Spartan Games. They actually went out of business, and then this other company picked it up. And so what ended up happening, it picked up, and so they created this game still. And gosh dang, I can't remember what it's called.
I'm looking at
it's gonna drive me nuts. But it's what it is, it's they have a lot of airship, like for example, like these airship carriers. So it's like if carriers moved into World War II or one, and they actually had like launched planes off a top deck and stuff. Like there's a lot of interesting stuff going on there. But even like Rebirth, like I like airships are interesting because they add like this whimsical science side to things.
Mm-hmm.
But during a time period, but it immediately ages something as older,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, like new and exciting. It's kind of like it's just kind of an interesting theme that you can pop into some places. So like in Rebirth, they're like it looks like you're rebuilding like parts of your.
I pulled up Spartan.
Dystopian Wars.
There we go. Okay.
It's called what?
Dystopian Wars.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, Rebirth, like, it looks like you're like rebuilding parts of your civilization or city or whatever, and doing stuff. But then they have an airship come through, and it's quite interesting.
I know you were talking about like themes and everything that you like, or that you want to, like your next game and all that stuff. And there's a lot of room sort of, I think, in that theme. Now, I don't know what the game mechanics would be, but like the airship stuff gives you like a really nice, I don't want to say fantasy vibe because it's not fantasy, but it gives you a lot of room to move in like a fictional setting where you can have like that World War I or World War II, like sort of inspiration stuff.
Yeah, it's really Leviathan. Someone mentioned that's a really interesting game by Catalyst Game Labs. Love, yeah. So that like there's
Nice.
really interesting with the different airships and stuff. It provides a certain whimsy, but like more of like a science whimsy versus like the sky whales.
Right.
And again, you have airships and sky whales. Why not?
You can have them both.
So I'm sensing a theme. All of Sam's are just take a thing and then put it in the air, make it fly, and Sam's in.
So flying dogs. Hear me out.
Although I do want to say, when you were talking about mechs games, totally forgot about Mechs vs. Minions. A great game.
Oh yeah, Mechs vs. Minions, Giga Robo. There's a few mech games. Giant Killer, GKR Heavy Hitters.
But GKR didn't really stick around, right? Like great game, didn't stick around.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of think that's what a workshop. Like they had a hit with GKR, and then they did District 9, and they did one other game, I think, and then they kind of went. And I don't even know.
They had Mechs and Minions. They did another, I think it was a Kings game, and then
I didn't even know Riot did another game, but I do love my Mechs vs. Minions. I'll never let go.
They did a small abstract.
Oh, okay.
Like a 2-player abstract.
How about Tim? How about Bloody Inn as a weird theme?
Yeah, 100%, man. 100%. Weird theme, great art, like just bizarre. Bring Out Your Dead from Upper Deck, where you're like,
I was going to mention that.
You're the grave diggers, right? And well, I'm going to bury this one, and then this one's going in the river. It's hilarious. Have you played that one, Sam, or have you seen that one?
No, I have not played that one or seen that one or even heard of that one.
Bring Out Your Dead. Yeah, you're basically, everybody's trying to get all of their bodies buried first. And so plots are filling up, and then there's cards you can play where you like pull somebody's body out of the grave and you throw it in the river, because there's a river in the middle of the board, and so the bodies go in the river. Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of what's the one where you're trying to get body parts? Is it like
Abomination, Heir to Frankenstein? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because I actually got that game. My wife didn't like what was going on, so I had to return it.
That's fair. Again, not for everybody, and also not the most wholesome theme, right? But
here you go. I got a weird game for you. I don't know how readily available this one is. Probably because Wes showed it to me, and he likes to just bring obscure games. It was called Robots vs. Dinosaurs. It's a card fighting game, but you're literally fighting robots versus dinosaurs. It's just a strange.
All I heard was Smash Up.
Yeah, right. I own a game called The War for Chicken Island, just because your chickens fighting, I'm here for it. I buy games with bananas themes because I love how.
My brother's wife loves chickens, so they actually bought the full thing when it was on Kickstarter, War for Chicken Island.
Nice. That's awesome. That is awesome. All right. Whose turn is it?
Mike's.
Go for it, Mike. Or me. I don't care. I'll go or Mike can go.
Go ahead, Tim.
Okay. My number 2. I love. So sometimes my themes are based on like my movie preferences. Okay. Things like that. Like I like weird movies too. Really weird stuff. So, but one of my all-time favorite movies is Raiders of the Lost Ark. So adventure themed games, right? Like Fortune and Glory, games that tell stories, right? Like Above and Below feels like an adventure themed game. I have not played Tales of the Arabian Nights or whatever. But I like even my father's work, while not an adventure, like I love that thematic, aspect of it. But like Descent or Massive Darkness, they give me this adventure vibe. I just added more to
specifically like pulp fiction.
It doesn't have to be. I just like high adventure, I would love for a better version of Fortune and Glory to come out, like a little more concise, a little more compact, a little tighter, easier to teach, more accessible version of Fortune and Glory. But like that kind of thing, if you could play a game as sort of like Indiana Jones and you're globe trotting as you're trying to get stuff, get these
kind of like Lost Ruins of Arnak.
Well, that theme doesn't like. I don't know. I haven't played Arnak enough. It does have that indie vibe, but it's
It's
too.
not terribly thematic though.
Yeah, I guess you could do anything with
Love
that
the
theme and
game.
like make it like a Dune game, and you basically have the same game. Just kidding. It's not Dune Imperium.
I love Arnak. So.
No, I think Arnak's great, and Arnak does give you like some of that, but I don't get like that high adventure vibe from playing Arnak.
I get that.
I would play if there was a like an above and below, but it was like Raiders. If it was Indiana Jones themed, it would probably be my favorite game of all time because I just want to play that all the time and live in that universe.
So you're looking for adventure. You're also looking for danger.
Yeah.
Okay.
Danger.
Well, like because again, and again, everybody when you see, it's like the movies you see when you're young. You know what I mean? It can be very formative for you, for better, for worse. And so like Raiders, again, I'm giving away my age, but I wore out, we had videotaped that off of HBO. That and Star Wars were on the same tape. First of all, you could not convince me that Han Solo and Indy were the same person. That's a lie. Impossible. That's Indiana Jones. That's Han Solo. But then secondly, that is the first videotape I remember wearing out and being so sad when it wouldn't play anymore that we had to go and actually buy a copy of Raiders of the Lost Ark just to have, because I wore out our VHS.
Not Star Wars, but Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Well, I love Star Wars too, but Raiders was my jam. Like as a kid, you know what I mean? Like I was out in the yard pretending like a giant boulder was coming, and there's snakes everywhere, all that stuff. Like I just love that so much. Like I want a game that gives me that feeling and that vibe, that atmosphere.
That's cool.
But adventure games and Fortune and Glory is really fun. Don't get me wrong. Like Fortune and Glory, but it's a beast to get to the table, and then you got to teach everybody how to, like it's just not as accessible as other games. So I would love to have one that I could just like throw down on the table like we do. Yeah, Lost the Time. This was a game. Lost the Time was a really kind of crazy tile laying game. It was timed, cooperative, and but it went to Kickstarter and it didn't happen. And we had a prototype of it for a little bit, and then we had to send it back. And I've never even heard from the designer again. I don't think he's ever even tried to relaunch it. But it was called Lost to Time. And we have a video of us playing it on it's a very, very, very early Board Game Rundown video. But if that game ever came out, and if it was even close to what it was when we played it, I would have bought it. Like we all had a really good time with it. Bob and Dan and Spencer and I, because that was back before we had any alternates that would come in.
I'm looking through this category of adventure on BGG, and it is just very loose. Flashpoint Fire Rescue? Come on.
Nah, come on.
I mean, it's just all over the place. That's probably loosely because it's kind of like a dungeon crawler, but not.
Yeah. Lost the Time. It kind of feels like Lost the Time, but it's not. It's so different in theme that it's not. But it's kind of like Night Cage. Night Cage. There's like that darkness, and you're moving, and the tiles are falling off. Like Lost the Time, you're drawing these tiles and you're playing them, and like bad things are happening, and so you're trying to get out far enough that you can find the keys and then get back to the middle and unlock everything. And again, it's timed.
So is it a lot like Night Cage then?
I don't want to say a lot. I mean, it just had that. If Night Cage gave you like 10 minutes, maybe.
Oh.
And there's not monsters chasing you in Lost to Time, but there were puzzles or like traps and like things you had to do. So you might reveal a tile and you can't move until you can roll, something on some dice. So And it was app driven. And I think part of the problem was it was 2020 when he was doing this game, and a lot of people were just still not behind the app side of it. And literally the app was like, I mean, it was a little bit more than a timer because you would enter in, they would be broken into little rounds. So like you would enter in, hey, we did X and Y. So then that could affect how much time you actually got on the next round, so, but I think there were some people were very apprehensive about having an app on their device and worried about it being tracked. Yeah, that's the one there, Mike.
I mean, it sounds cool. It's unfortunate that they lost the time to publish it.
Yeah.
This guy.
Yeah. And yes, Bob. Yes. But lost the time was pretty cool. I'll have to reach out to the guy and see if I can still find his contact information and just see if he's still doing anything with it. But
that's cool. Sounds cool.
But he was a like special effects artist. He was an interesting dude too. But it was very, very, very early in our YouTube career. But yeah, I enjoyed. We all, Bob and I talk about this game all the time. Like, what could have been. And it's really sad. Like, it's one of those games where it's like, I wish I still had the prototype. You know what I mean? Because then we could still play it. As long as the app still worked, because then we would have still had something for it, right? Because I've got some prototypes still, but I think all those games have funded. I don't think I've got any for it that haven't funded.
Oh man, Andrew's really working up that bingo card.
No doubt. No doubt. I got a stack of prototypes over here, and it's like you can't really do anything with them. I guess I don't want to throw them away, and you can't really give them away.
Yeah,
because you want people to have like if we had, for example, if we had a prototype of Forges, I wouldn't give it to somebody because I'd be like, just go get Forges because it's going to be way better than what I'm handing you.
The prototype's not the final game, right? So
also, 100%.
You're like, don't give that game out. It's
exactly.
Incomplete. It's not the final product.
Well, and also, Sam, to that point, right? We took several prototypes to Indianapolis for the little meetup we were at, and I made sure to ask everybody, hey, is it cool if I take this prototype to play with people? Because it's not the final version. So are they okay with the public seeing that version of the game? A lot of times it's yes. Nobody said no. Nobody said no because a lot of people, this was like what the copies they were using to like demo, you know what I mean, at shows anyways. But you want to be respectful of people's content, and their, and what they're doing. Like,
yep.
But we showed, Sam, unfortunately for you, we only showed the finished product of Forges. And we had 7 people say that they canceled their pledge because they didn't like the dice. Just kidding.
You had me going for a second.
Let me just say, and because I don't think I got to say this to you yet, but let me just say, not only as your friend, but because I asked other people, that is the most horseshit reason to cancel a pledge I've ever heard in my life, and I don't care who knows it. That's somebody's wife that found out that they pledged X amount of dollars and were like, okay, I got to find a way to cancel this. Let me save face. Oh yeah, you didn't send me that weekly update on the same day you normally send it. I got to cancel my pledge. I lost total faith in the project. You said that you sent that update one day earlier than you normally do. Something's wrong. They're stealing all of my money. I want my money back. It's just the wimpiest, most asinine reason I've ever heard anybody cancel pledge. Sam, I know you can't comment. I don't care. I will voice all of my opinions and my vitriol for you.
I'm just saying that sometimes people are in different parts of their life or different things. And for us, for those who are tracking, we had to change dice. Yeah, Bob. Change dice because we originally contracted out with someone, a dice maker, to make custom dice for reasons I'm not going to get into, that they are unable to fulfill that contract anymore, which means we don't have those dice.
Right.
So now we're trying to get other dice in order to do different stuff. So,
spoiler alert, Sam, the new dice look better. Just saying. Just saying. I'm not
some
even
people
saying
like the gemstone stuff better.
I'm not even saying that because I consider you a friend. I'm just saying, honestly, Bob and I were like taking straw polls at this. We're like, which dice are better? Which one, do you like
Oh,
these?
wow, really?
Yeah. And everybody is like, well, those dice look better. We're like, okay, yeah. So that dude's an idiot. My opinions do not reflect the opinions of BA Games. So.
I will say this though. I'll say this: I honestly think as a backer, I get it. My thing is, if someone showed me a picture of what something's supposed to be, and I paid a lot of money for it, and then they showed me a picture later saying we're changing to this instead, I think there needs to be a chance for someone to back out.
I think there's a chance. I just don't want to hear that the most easily replaceable component in any board game you could ever buy, the dice, is the reason you cancel a very high level pledge with all sorts of other deluxe bits. Let me just say, like, for example, because Forges of Ravenshire had a level where you could back and you could get this wooden crate to get the game in. Now, if Sam says, hey, bad news, guys, we can't do that crate, so we've got this plastic crate that we're going to send stuff out in, but it's engraved and it looks really cool. I made it with my Cricut. They'd be like, nah, I'm out. But the dice, I'm sorry. The dice, if you're like, hey, we've got this version of the game with like alternate art, and then and it's like, okay, you don't like anthropomorphic animals. Guess what? We've got one that's all like dwarves and elves and shit. Like, okay, great. Like, I'm here. Like, that's the version I want. I'm going to back that because I love it. And then you're like, well, that artist flaked out. We can't do anything with it now. Or, something happened. That artist died in a plane crash. So we only have this art now. Or we've got this other artist. And it's like, no, listen, I backed the game because I wanted that person's artwork. I get it. You cannot replace that. You can, thank you, Eric. You can buy any kind of damn dice you want and put it into any freaking game you want. Bob and I replace, and probably Mike too, but I won't speak for Mike. Bob and I replace almost every plastic, paper, coin, cardboard coin, paper money in every board game with metal coins because we love metal coins. Oh, guess what? Forges has metal coins coming. Okay, but it's not the dice. The dice are so easy to replace. I go to the game store down where we film at and I buy new dice all the dang time to put in games that have what I would call boring dice. I would never not buy a game because it's like, well, the dice are ugly.
You gotta understand, this is just a general marketing thing actually, where people tend to buy in packages. They buy all of something or not. They don't.
I do that too.
Right? So you always buy something as a whole. There's something about the human nature that is somewhat completionist.
Guilty.
Right? And so, like, I can't just get this thing. I need to do the whole thing. So, and that's what's really kind of crazy about it. I find myself to. So, all I'm going to say is, Power, if you got an issue, back to the issue, feel free to contact us, and we're happy to
listen, Sam, you're a stand-up guy, and you guys do the right thing. Like, count on that. I'll just say that. As somebody that is from the outside, and I see stuff like that, and I'm just like, that's the dumbest gosh dang thing I've ever heard in my whole life. Nix, your comment reminded me of something that I dealt with personally in my line of work, right? So I sell compressed gas at my work, all right? Like CO2, welding gas, all kinds of stuff. Somebody called and said that they did not, it was the owner of a chain of restaurants. And he was really mad because he was getting billed for carbon dioxide. He does for his pop machines. He does not buy carbon dioxide. He only buys CO2. And he was very upset that he was getting billed for carbon dioxide. I was on the phone with this gentleman for 45 minutes explaining to him, trying to explain to him that CO2 is short for carbon dioxide. I'm like, it's basically slang. Carbon dioxide is the scientific and official term. And this gentleman would not believe me. And I'm like, please look at your history of like every other bill we've ever sent you. It will say carbon dioxide. Now, I know when you call, you say, I need CO2. And we say, yes, sir. It'll be there on Wednesday.
Face palm. Yeah. It's like, why is hydrogen dioxide on my water bill?
So, anyways, not the same thing as what Sam's dealing with, but I would say that if Mike or Bob ever canceled a pledge because they changed the dice, and it was not a Kickstarter for dice, I'm going to tell them that they are the biggest words that I will not say live on camera that I've ever known, and I will never, ever, ever, ever for the entire time that I know them ever let them live that down. So thank you, Aaron. Aaron gets it. Better make sure that CO2 is compatible with the soda machine. It doesn't have a pop machine. Oh, hey, Mike.
Oh.
Speaking of Aaron, this reminds me. The chicken police showed up at my door and left a little thing.
Nice.
That's right. Parakeet Griffin Games, right?
Yeah. That's them. Anyway, Sam, I'm sorry. I know that puts you in a really uncomfortable spot.
We're going to move on.
Yeah. No. Here's the thing is, whether you were the guest or not, that was getting talked about the next time I was on the show. Because
I'm just here to say that I think what it comes down to in the end is I think there's a lot of people who are anxious about Kickstarter.
You're right.
I think a lot of people have concerns. And if you don't know us, it could be a red flag, right? Where the bait and switch and stuff. Like there's things that could happen in a campaign. And there's been campaigns who said, everything's fine. We're all good.
Yeah.
2 years later, yeah, it's happening. And then it's like, I don't know what's going on. So.
Yeah. But so, Sam, I'm sorry because I'm a bad friend and I should not have put you under the gun like that.
No, you could have your opinions. And I'm just saying, I think it's as much as it hurts me to lose pledges because of something that I can't control.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how that goes.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, that's the nature of the business sometimes.
It stinks. But at the same time, like, I got to understand that, that people are giving us money for a different variety of reasons. And if that's important to them, then that's important to them. So,
anyway.
Eric, if you want to buy a pledge, I'm happy to shoot me an email at sam@bagamesco.com. We'll get you hooked up.
Let me just say, buy with confidence. Sam and his brother, his family, they are wonderful people and they're honest and they will do right by you.
And if you actually want that all-in pledge, maybe he'll maybe he'll have it with him.
Well, we actually will have some dice. They're coming. What's going to happen is because of the lateness, what's going to happen is we're probably going to have to do fulfillment of all the pledges first. And then when those dice come in, probably a few weeks later, they will get shipped out separately to the people because we're having to get those shipped in, and it takes about 28 to 30 days. And the shipment is already at the port in California.
Well, and again, the BS part of it that I think gets overlooked or is not being taken into account is all of the due diligence that you guys are doing to try to make it as right as you can. I just don't feel like that's being appreciated. And I don't get like super pissed off about a lot of things, but if you mess with my kids or you mess with my friends, I go kind of nuts. The Irish in me gets up and I just...
It's okay though, Tim. Like we're gonna be fine. We're gonna be fine.
I'll be mad for you publicly.
Are you my anger translator?
Yeah. Like that sketch with on Key and Peele, right? Yeah, I got you. I got you.
All right.
I'm
Who else
sorry.
got number
I've
2 on
totally
here?
derailed everything.
Who else got number 2 here?
My favorite theme is pledge backers that don't puss out just because they
Nice,
changed the
Tim.
font.
Oh gosh. All right. So
Well, Sam just lost the rest of his backers. Thanks, Tim.
thanks, Tim.
And I'm signing off.
My damage here is done.
Yes, that's it. All right, Mike.
All right, favorite themes. We talked about this one already.
So we're at number 2, or where are we at?
No, you're
We're
two.
still at number 2. Yeah.
We're still. Wait. Oh yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry for that.
No, I didn't check it off, but I did. I'm like, I have 2 left. Oh no, I did that one.
So my number 2 is alternate history.
Ooh.
Because, well, I really love Scythe, and that has alternate history in it. Expeditions, same theme. Don't like that game nearly as much as Scythe, but still love that artwork and that theme. Resurgence uses alternate history. Stan Kordonsky's game. It's about the Great War and then rebuilding civilization. So I really like these alternate versions of history. Nucleum slightly has that in it, and my favorite IP ever, Fallout, is alternate history related. Unfortunately, I have not liked any of the Fallout board games that I have played, but I do absolutely love alternate history in games, and I like seeing these worlds that are built out of a different version of history. I always think that's fascinating in games.
You need to, Mike, I don't know if you're a reader, but maybe get the audiobook. There is an amazing book by a guy named what is his name? Harry Turtledove. Guns of the South.
Be a made-up name.
No. It's Guns of the South. And so this is like there's time travelers go back into the past and they go to the Civil War and they basically give the South assault rifles and automatic weapons and things like that.
My.
Yeah, and it's like this weird. So you've got like this. It starts off sort of like very historically accurate, and then all of a sudden, battles are going differently because. But then they figure, but the North starts to figure out that they've got, like something is happening, right? Like people are coming to the past to try to change the future. And then there's another. He wrote another book, and I can't remember the name of it, but like during World War II, aliens attack, and then basically. Everybody that's fighting stops, unites, and then like tries to repel the alien invasion.
That reminds me of one of I used to play a game on PlayStation where it was like a weird war, and so what it was is like the Nazis were doing research into vampires and recruiting vampires and stuff. So the British and stuff and the Americans get together, and unknowingly. They start fighting with werewolves. Then some of your guys become werewolves in order to fight the vampires and become like this weird war too.
I'm in.
I'm down with the mic.
I mean, some other video games that do it well: BioShock, Wolfenstein. There's been some really great alternate history games over the years. I'd like to see more of it in board games. I think it gives you. A huge, wide open template to do whatever you want when you're altering history. So I think it's cool seeing those versions.
It's funny that your theme is related to mine for number 1. Not the same, but related.
I couldn't think of a whole lot of them. Like I said, all I had Scythe, Expeditions, Fallout, My Father's Work, slightly. Resurgence and Nucleum has a sprinkling in it. But that's really all I could come up with for alternate history and board games. Happy to look into any others that anybody else can think of, but I was struggling to find more than a handful of alternate history board games. Reichbusters.
Yeah.
That was a Mythic game, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I remember that. Yeah.
See that one.
Number one time, right?
It is number one time. It was up there hitting the hi-hat and everything.
Oh man, yeah. Been playing guitar here with my kids.
Yeah.
All right, number one. So my number one is somewhat related to Mike's, not quite the same, but there's some ideas similar to it, and I call it practical fantasy, where things in the setting change how things are done because of something that's been introduced. Like, what if a town had little dragons that were sentient and can be used for different things? Like, they could bake bread. They could be blacksmiths because they're dragons, right?
Flamecraft.
Yeah. Like, the most iconic image for me, and I just love it so much, is there's a witch sitting at a table, this girl, and she's sitting there with like a cream, something in a bowl, right? And like, oh, what? I don't know what she's eating, and like a custard or something. And then this waiter comes out with a little dragon on his arm, and he lowers it towards the table, and the dragon leans over and like is breathing fire to torch like the creme brulee or
Creme
whatever.
brulee. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's fascinating to me that, well, okay, so if dragons existed, how would this kind of work in this little theme? And it's kind of fun how it works. And I find Flamecraft to be quite fascinating with some of the little things they do. Because it's a little dragons, like, of course there'll be bread dragons who make bread and stuff. Like, look at this guy. See, he's heating up with his breath and then fixing the cauldron because he's a dragon. That makes sense. He's grilling. So it's just kind of like it's a normal human thing, but then dragons are involved somehow, and they're doing dragon things to help out. So that the setting hasn't changed dramatically, but dragons are involved now.
Just found another blacksmith game.
Yeah, and it's just they're doing things that like a blacksmith would do, but they do it in a dragon way.
Yeah, the art in this is so amazing. I have not played this game yet, but I
haven't played it either. Yeah.
It's a light game. I wouldn't say it's very heavy, but I find it just the setting it's super enjoyable. It's just kind of a fun thematic romp that I like to play sometimes. And Peter Vaughn is a guy. He's actually kind of like my hero. I've actually met him for the first time at Gamma Expo. I got him to do one of my panels, which was super awesome. But like, he just does such a good job. Him and his team just do such a good job of just the production quality on these games and getting what things feel like and do stuff. Like, Flamecraft's not even my favorite game. I enjoy it, but I honestly really respect what he did for that game. Like the inserts and all the stuff that he coordinated to get that game complete is quite fascinating. It's quite good. And Andromeda's Edge is coming soon, so
Well, that monster of a game.
Oh, I'm so excited for that one. But yeah, so yeah, practical fantasy where adding fantastical elements to a setting changes it just in a little bit of a way. Like, it's still human, it's still doing its thing, it's still like that setting, but if a dragon was involved, how would it change?
That is an interesting twist on Mike's earlier one, right? Where it's like you have like real life jobs, except then like, how do the dragons fit into that? Facilitate that. I want to see dragons selling cars. I wonder how they motivate people to sell cars.
I say the flavored like
other examples.
But no, that's awesome. I love that idea.
Mistwind could probably be on the same thing. Sky Whales could honestly probably fit to that theme,
especially since they're delivering goods.
Yeah, like if you had flying Sky Whales,
Right.
You had these tall towers in places, really high peaks. How would you go from peak to peak? Well, at some point, as long as whales are docile enough to do stuff, yeah, you can totally use them to transport things. And that changes the dynamic. It's still a game. It's still a pick up deliver game. You can put a ship in there instead, but instead, whale. Those are, I find them fascinating because it's something that you're familiar with, but it's a little twist that makes it fascinating.
Yeah.
You mean like if a badger was a blacksmith, for example?
That's probably a little more generic because then like anthropomorphic animals, the whole thing. But like, yeah, but the idea, the way of thinking is there, and I quite enjoy it when people do it right. It's quite fun. It's quite fascinating. Brandon Sanderson as an author, if you like fantasy books, he does a really good job of that generally.
Yeah. Well, I've only read the
Way of Kings.
Yeah, well, I'm on the 3rd or 4th book in that series right now. But yeah, Way of Kings is my jam for sure.
But in Mistborn, he does it as well.
Oh, okay.
Like all of his books he writes, if there's a magic system, he does try to incorporate. Well, if that's the case, how does this work then in the real world?
Mm-hmm.
So in Mistborn was really fascinating because he has his original trilogy, and he has one that's like hundreds of years later.
Okay.
And it's the same fantasy setting, but just hundreds of years in the future.
You're watching that, like all of the technology or whatever has evolved.
So now it's like 1900.
Mm-hmm.
But if there was magic that they have.
Nice.
And how that's changed some of the things they do and how things are affected. Like it changes guns and how they work, like all different stuff. So like, and he's actually planning on eventually one day potentially is doing another trilogy past it, but like hundreds of years past that, like in 2300, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So like sci-fi meets fantasy magic, aka Star Wars. Oh, just kidding.
Right. Yeah. Hey, it might do a good job.
But it shows progression. It's quite fascinating how the things actually affect stuff.
I mean, all he's got to, I believe right now, doesn't he have the record for like the most successful Kickstarter?
He has the biggest Kickstarter. And
Yeah.
he just he moved to Backer Kit.
Oh.
He's not using Kickstarter anymore. He's using Backer Kit.
Oh, dang. That's got to hurt Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah,
why they started taking board games seriously. But he's a really good author. I've really enjoyed the Way of Kings series, and I've just kind of dipped my toe in the Reckoners because I bought the board game and I want to play it, and I love the idea behind it.
I'll play with you.
So
that's another one. The whole book series is based on that idea.
Yeah. So I literally bought the board game and the book, right? Like, because I was like, here we go.
Do you know why he wrote the Reckoner series? So I got to talk to him about it.
Oh, sweet.
So the story goes, he was driving and he was going up a bridge and he got cut off by someone. And he got kind of upset. And he's like, you're just lucky I don't have superpowers right now. And so he's like, wait, what if superpowers were evil or bad?
Right.
And so then the heroes are the non-superheroes.
It's sort of, I mean, the Reckoners is sort of like a PG version of The Boys, you know?
Yeah. I like Reckoners better.
Well, I mean, The Boys really they're like, oh, are you hard to offend? We're going to really, really push that. I think The Boys does some very good things, but sometimes I feel like they try a little too hard, and I'm hard to offend.
The thing about the Reckoners is it brings an apocalypse. So it's apocalypse across the board to the world because of what's happened.
Well, yeah, like the Steelheart stuff with Chicago is pretty fascinating. And I also just kind of love it because I know Chicago relatively well. So like, I'm like,
you mean New Chicago?
Yeah. But it's like, I know where that's supposed to be, you know, so that's always kind of fun too. Anyways, no, super. I love that pick, man. What an interesting.
I was trying to find other games that would match this because I really like this pick. And
Mm.
the closest thing I was able to come up with is this preview that we did late last year called The Great Rat Wars. And this game was about mutated rats that are actually trying to defend their territory. So you've got humans fighting against mutated rats. They don't necessarily take like the position of humans other than being aggressive, but this is the only thing I could find that's even remotely close to what you're talking about here, Sam. The Great Rat Wars.
Man,
It is actually based on a book or a play, something like that. But it's kind of like a war game, sort of skirmish game.
Yeah, but
Where you're
the whole
fighting.
so the whole idea is you take something like, what if this happens?
Yeah, trying to
Then
conquer NYC as an army of mutated rats, or defend it as the humans. Yeah, there you go.
I
it
was
actually kinda-
really
it kind of fits. That's why it fits the alternate history stuff. Because like, what if World War II aliens came?
right.
Yeah, right.
Let me.
Messes everything up.
Closest I could come up with.
Oh, I could.
All right. My number one probably will come as no surprise, but and I'm just starting to now, like, there's starting to be more games in this theme that actually are pretty good. But there's definitely room. It's also not everybody's cup of tea, but it is my cup of tea. I love horror themed board games. I love horror movies. I just like as a kid, right? I like being scared. You know what I mean? I like stuff that was crazy like that. Trick or Treat Studios has done a good job of putting out a couple good horror themed games. I mean, you could even go with like Nemesis, you know, because I do love Alien, right? That's basically Alien.
Weren't you the one that told me about the is it the Thing and area?
Yeah, the Infection at Outpost 31. Yes. I think what it is that I like is the tension, right? And the intrigue that goes there, right? Because like the Thing is it's kind of hidden traitor, right? Somebody you don't trust everybody. I love it when games get everybody kind of worked up and really, I mean, because even to on its basest level, I think that this is the appeal of Ahoy Kitten for me, is the 1, 2, 3 point, and everybody's pointing to different things, but it's like, are you pointing to the same thing I'm pointing at? You know, and you're like, there's that tension. And then you laugh because you release that tension as you're like, oh my God, I can't believe we pointed to the same thing. Or, oh, I finally got this tile, you know, and I got some stuff. Or, you know, but like the horror theme games, it was fun because we talked to Scott Rogers last week, and he wants to create a horror game that actually scares people. And I'm like, sign me up. I don't know how you do it, but sign me up.
How would you do that?
I don't know. I almost feel like it would have to be like app driven. You know, maybe you've got like
I just don't know how you do that, because the problem with the board game, like horror movies are a little different, right? Because what gets you into the horror movie is you're in the movie. Like if you start thinking, focusing, like you become part of the movie,
right?
Which is why like Blair Witch Project and Cloverfield work, is because it's that first person cam view, right? So like, you get sucked into thinking that you're actually there,
right?
I think to a certain extent, and you forget that that's not reality. We're in this reality, not that reality.
Right. That is a huge part of it, and I don't know how you do that. I guess you could do it with storytelling and ambiance. I mean, like, I love my father's work. I like actually my father's work even a little bit more than Abomination Heir to Frankenstein, but I just love the tale that sort of you're telling with like my father's work. That is horror themed, but it's not scary. You know, it's more like, I guess my father's work is almost more gothic. You know, in Abomination Heir to Frankenstein, horror themed, but it's not scary. There are games where we have played like Another Glorious Day in the Core, right? Aliens, Another Glorious Day in the Core, where you don't know where the aliens are going to spawn from. And so you're like, okay, you know, they're coming this way, boop, 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 you know, and you flip the card and you start seeding the board. You're like, oh no, what are we gonna do? There's that tension, but it's not scary.
It's surprising, like, oh no, there's tension, like we're gonna lose. But it's not like, oh no, I'm going to die.
So maybe to Eric's point, maybe the best thing we have ever had happen as far as like a horror themed game goes is we were playing it's Emerson Matsuuchi designed Halloween. One person is playing as Michael Myers and everybody else are playing as like the babysitters. And we're trying to search the houses, find what we need, and GTFO, right? The other player who we cannot see is moving around on the board is Michael Myers. And so when you end your movement, you're like looking in a very specific way. And we had this happen. I don't think Mike was playing with us when we had this happen, but was it Bob? Was Bob? I think Bob was playing as Michael
Bob
Myers.
told me the story.
And Dan ended his movement looking out of a window.
In the window, like looking for him.
Yeah, and then Dan like placed his miniature directly behind Bob, like or a standee directly behind Bob. And we're all like, oh, like it got such a huge reaction, right? And we all freaked out. And there's been so many times like in that game where you're like, okay, I'm looking this way. And you're just like, please don't put your thing down right there. Please don't, like, I don't want to see you. So that was probably the closest that actually recreated sort of that feeling, you know, because it's that tension, it's that buildup. Because it's worse when you don't see them for like a long time. You're like, where the heck is this guy going to pop up at? But I think it's because of my love of horror movies and stuff like that. And I'm not the guy that walks around with like, you know, I don't look like your average horror movie fan. But I'm just too straight edge to be that way, I guess. But anyways, I love that stuff. I would love any time that something wants to sort of present itself as a horror theme, like I want to try it. Like I want to see, like, does it give me that vibe? And again, also, so far in my experience with any of the ones that are halfway decent, it's very group dependent. If people aren't buying in, you know, like, then what's the point? But I mean, and that's how horror movies are in the theater. I can tell you, I will never forget. I saw Paranormal Activity in the theater with my sister and my dad. My dad was in town. He's like, let's go see a movie. And we used to watch horror movies when we were young together. And it's like, let's go see this scary movie. I have no idea like what it's about. And a woman literally jumped up and ran out of the theater during a specific scene of Paranormal Activity. And that is my favorite story, like from seeing that movie. But everybody in the theater was all into it, right? Everybody's like gasping and yeah, all at the same times, right? You know, and so it was like such a, like board games, it was such a community, you know, experience, a communal experience, and we're all sharing and we were all bought in. All it takes is for like a couple of people to be like, boo, or this sucks, or that's dumb. And then it takes you out of it takes you out of the whole thing. You know what I mean? But like everybody was so into it, and it created this wonderful atmosphere where, you know, like we're so much that this woman got up, yelled, oh, hell no, and ran out of the theater, and everybody laughed for like 2 minutes. And then we were all really scared again.
Like, she was smart.
Yeah, she's out there eating popcorn, having a good time, but we're in here still freaking out.
Oh crap! I'm in pants.
But no, so I just really love good horror themed games. Like when they nail it, it's just that much more for me. It's really hard to do. I can still appreciate them, but for them to like push it over the top and like really. Like if Scott Rogers ever makes that game where it's like, that's the horror game that scares you, like take my money. I'm in. But yeah, that's got
to me, the games that give the best suspense are good social deduction games.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because I don't know who I can trust. And specifically Blood on the Clock Tower, I think does this very well. So you can separate into those side groups. And when you do that, you don't know if you can tell people your actual role. And it's very uneasy.
Yes.
Like
Agreed.
that information could be used against you when that person goes into a different side conversation with other people that you get to hear, and then 5 other people end up accusing you because of information you gave to that person that they're now using against you. It's
Agreed.
a very uneasy feeling. And then to come back to town after like the 10-minute discussion period and all of a sudden have 12 fingers pointing at you and they want to execute you, but you know you're one of the townsfolk. I think that game it is a perfect example of suspense in a board game.
But again, I think that really definitely depends on the group because you need a group to buy in, and you need a good narrator or someone to run the game to make sure that it's going to work the way it's supposed to.
Well, to that point, let me just share a Cult of the Deep story real quick. One time we were playing with Spencer. I forget what Spencer was so bad at this. Not Spencer's a very, very, very good. He's very good at board games, but for whatever reason, sometimes when it comes to social deduction stuff, he's the worst. And I don't know if it's just because Bob and I know him too well, but like Bob and I sometimes can look at each other and like instantly link brains. It's terrifying. But we were playing Cult of the Deep, and I'm 99% sure if I'm remembering this correctly, Bob and I looked at each other. We knew we were both on the same time, on the same team. And Spencer was clueless. And we wrecked Bob and I wrecked that game because we were just able to.
So that's one thing about Cult of the Deep. You have to, we call it the magic circle. So if you're going to play that game, if you get into it and really kind of give in to the story that happens, then it's really good. If you completely calculate it and treat it like a board game, it loses a lot of luster.
Hey, Bob and I had a great time.
But even then, like, so the thing with that game is people like, you should lie. You should like do all kinds of stuff. You should throw people off. You should do that, because one of the things we do in the game that I think that I love Cult of the Deep, but it can hit or miss depending on who's playing it. So there are things that happen in the game that gives you evidence what someone is, the dice specifically, right? But what threw me off, for example, because there was one game where I was playing as a high priest, and I was the necromancer high priest, which means the variant on that is you have to get rid of the faithful. Otherwise, I will tick and come back to life, because he has my I'm having a red bad time of names tonight. Phylactery. And so I'm going to come to life unless you find out who the faithful is. So there have been games where I'm the high priest and the faithful actually kills me to prevent me from getting something, which is awesome because they get my stuff. They're like, oh man, I'm on your team. But then people are like, but the game doesn't end yet because the faithful's not dead yet. So no one knows who's what. But in this game, what ended up happening is no one attacked me. Everyone just healed me for like 2 rounds. I'm just sitting there, I'm like, and everyone's laughing their butts off at me because I literally have no clue or any information on anyone. Everyone else kind of gets some clue. I don't know a jack squat. And so that's where that game works, is because you can see other people and how they're suffering, and you can appreciate the suffering.
Yeah. No, go on, Mike.
Yeah. I really think social deduction does some of the best, other than hidden movement. Those are the best suspense moments in games. I really like those games where, okay, everybody close their eyes. If you're bad, open your eyes. Everybody look at each other without giggling too much and giving it away. Right now, everybody open their eyes, and you're looking out around and trying to figure out who had their eyes open. I thoroughly enjoy that in games.
All right. Mike.
All right, Mike, you're number one.
My number one. So I do like real themes. You will notice that I picked business, and I picked nature and animals. My number one is games based off of real places or cities or countries. And this
Oh,
did not
really?
come to me right away because I don't sit there and think, oh, yeah, I like games about real cities and places. But then if I actually sit down and look at all of the games that are based on real places, you will have yourself a massive list of some of the best games ever made. So I will go ahead and give you many of these games and why this is the best theme. So I think why these appeal to me is that when I watch or read things, I tend to watch documentaries. I like to watch things I can learn something from, something weird that happened that I never knew anything about. And I'm getting this insider information I never had before, or reading non-fictional books. These are the things that I tend to go towards. When I play games based off cities and places, I feel like I learned something about that place's culture. And I appreciate that. So, all of the games that are based off of cities or places that I've either played, own, have been told are excellent games, or are on my wish list. Bora Bora, Orleans, Dabawala, Let's Go to Japan, Marrakesh, Rialto, New York, Notre Dame, Puerto Rico, Troyes, Kartini, based on Indonesia, Brass Birmingham, Reykjavik, Moosefjord, Macau, Bruges, Amsterdam, Hamburg, Carcassonne, Bruxelles 1893, Coimbra, Kathmandu, Altiplano, based on Peru, Akrotiri, Santorini, Istanbul, Yokohama, Le Havre, Jaipur, San Juan, Lisboa, Downfall of Pompeii, Teotihuacan, Hallertau, Copenhagen, Sekigahara, New Bedford, Las Vegas, St. Petersburg, London, Barcelona, Venice, Ostia, based on a region in Rome, Vienna, Lisboa, Carson City, Vanuatu, Paris, Murano, Burano, Traders of Osaka, Ragusa, Toledo, Yunnan, Cape May, Mombasa, and Clans of Caledonia are all real places that have games based on them.
I didn't hear Kutnahora in there.
Is that a real place?
Yeah, that's a real thing.
Ah,
It didn't fit in Mike's
found
rant.
in the Czech Republic. Oh, thank you, Sam, for validating my number one pick. It doesn't come to you like right away. And I'm not like, oh, I want to get that game because it's based on St. Bend, Indiana. But you learn things when you play games like this. I didn't know Santorini was actually a village in Greece that had all white buildings with blue roofs until I played that game and I went, wonder if that's what Santorini looks like. And then I looked it up. It's one of the most gorgeous places you'll ever lay your eyes on. I find that factual tie to those type of games fascinating.
You know what's funny, Mike, and you are not wrong, but especially when I was early getting into the hobby, and if I saw a board game was named after like a city, I was like, nah.
Right. Yeah. I get
That's
that.
too crunchy.
I love plenty like Concordia. I know that's not a city, but like again, that's a region. You know what I mean? Like that's a whole thing. Downfall of Pump. I mean, you named a ton of games that I absolutely love. But very early on in my hobby, like in the hobby, right? My development, you know, my process of growing as a gamer, I'd be like, nah, that sounds boring. Orleans.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds bad, but then you play it and you're like, wow, these games are excellent. And maybe not because of their theme, but that is the bond that ties all of those games together. And so I mean, like I said, some of these others I was only able to come up with 5 examples. I had over 50 right there.
Yeah, but you haven't played Ostia, right?
No.
You should. It's really good. But yeah,
I was told.
Yeah,
so
no, 100%.
You also missed on the list. You missed Ravenshire. It's a town in the Kingdom of Brockdorf.
Yeah.
Oh, let me find that on Google Maps. I'll
bookmark it. It's in the It's in the Black Forest of Germany. You'll find it. It's there.
So yeah, that was not like the first thing that I came up with. But when I just started going through some of my favorite games, that was the connective tissue between many of them, and I can't deny that, even though it's not a thing I look for.
Well, didn't intentionally look for it, but now you realize it, and you're like,
Now that
oh,
I realize it, I definitely look for it. And even just this weekend, I get to preview Dabawala, which is an upcoming Queen game. And that's actually based off of food merchants in India. And they are the people that like stack food on pallets on bicycles. You've
mhm.
seen that before? That's a Dabawala, and they are in India. And there's a really good polyomino game coming out from Queen where you're stacking your pallets of different goods together and trying to increase the value and sell them for max value.
See,
It
that's a
was an
theme
excellent
that
game.
really works. Like you wouldn't think, oh,
Yes.
guy on a bike stacking food, not a very exciting board game.
Yeah.
Until you're like, yeah, but you got to put polyominoes, and that's what we're going to score by being able to do everything and stuff. It's like, oh, that sounds actually quite
Uh-huh.
intriguing.
Yeah, it was really good. I was super impressed with this. Mumbai Food Express.
Yeah, like you start putting it together, like that, and you can see how it would work too. Once you see that theme, you know what
Mm-hmm.
it is, and you see, you're like, oh, this is what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah. I mean, I've never played a polyomino game that introduces stacking. And so,
Gartenbau
okay,
by 25th Century.
nice. I have not played that one. Yeah, basically, this one's you're going around here and you're picking up these cards that tell you what polyomino you get, and then you get to stack it up on your player board. The higher up you stack it, the more the multiplier is for each tile that you're able to place. But the cards are dual purpose. After everybody has placed all of their polyominoes, you're going to grab these hands into your card, and at the bottom, the colors determine how much value the colors have, and everybody simultaneously reveals their value cards that will fluctuate the value of those goods each round. It was
Oh, so
excellent.
it's not. So not only is it that, it's got an economic element.
A little bit of like simultaneous market manipulation based on how much your tiles are going to score and how high they're stacked. I mean, I already love all of those things in games, and I just was super impressed with this. And I'm like, you know what? Like a lot of other games based on real things and places. So it just fit right in.
That's cool. Now, which Marrakesh are you talking about?
The Marrakesh that I've played is the newest one from Queen Stefan Feld design.
Okay, not
Uh,
the other one.
no, which was excellent, and I just need to get it to the table again. I was talking about, so you're probably talking about this 2000. Wait, there's a 2002 Haba? Whoa. I don't think it was this one you're talking about. You're
No.
talking about the one that's got the C in it.
Yeah,
This one. Yes, so I have not played this one.
that rating is a disservice to that game.
Oh dang.
I've heard good things about this.
Um, there's a variant that I think you would quite appreciate.
What's that variant?
So how the game plays is you have a rug. So you each have rugs. You're all rug salesmen. And what it is you're trying to guide this guy to do it. So what happens is how it normally goes is you have a die that's 1 through 4. You have one, 4, and then 2 2s and 2 3s. This movement. So how it works is in a normal game is you pick a direction. You can pick any direction except backwards for the guy. See that's front face there?
Mm-hmm.
So you pick left, forward, or right. And then you roll a die, and that's how many spaces you go. And then you can place a rug as long as it's touching orthogonally from the guy. And then if you land on a color of rugs, you have to pay the owner of those rugs the number of squares they have connected.
I like
So
that idea.
If they have like 12 connected squares in the rugs, like so say he went see that picture right there. Let's say he decides to go his left, and you roll a 1. So he moves up 1 space into red rug. You'll then give the owner of the red carpet 4 coins. because there's 4 spaces of red carpet.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then you have to place your blue carpet down. So if I was him, I would put the blue carpet, I would put it over the red carpet and attach it to the left. So then you have a nice big blue U shape. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone lands on blue, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 coins if they land on the blue. So you get money, and you start with 30 coins or 30 money. And so that the objective of the game is most money plus number of spaces on the board. That's your score. As it is. So the variant, though, is you move first, then you choose direction for the next player.
Mm.
Hey.
So you can set them up pretty horrifically into some real spicy spots where they're going to have to run through the gauntlet of rugs to get somewhere, and they're going to be owing some people money. So
This sounds great.
Yeah, it does.
I love it.
This
Such a good little game.
Slightly reminds me of Santiago, a real place, which I did mention. And it's got like you're bidding on tiles, and where they get placed determines income and stuff. Very, very clever game. Yeah, this sounds really cool.
I bring it with me everywhere I go now because the game plays in like 15, 20 minutes at most.
Nice.
It's super quick. But once people get like it's real good.
Well, and this is also called Marrakesh.
Yeah, with the C.
With the C spelling. Just to talk about the total opposite side of the spectrum is Marrakesh, which is definitely a heavy game. It's actually really easy to learn, but there's just a lot going on. It's one of those where I have a lot of stuff to explain to you, but none of it's complicated. Essentially, you're placing these different colored markers onto your board. The more of them you can place into an area, the stronger that action gets. So it has a very strong engine building going on just by the amount of what they call keshis, or people from Marrakesh, placed into these areas. And these are like different jobs. So over here, this is like the date farmers, and over here, these are the people that are guarding the wall. These are entertainers that are entertaining fans, is the whole theme here. And the more of these markers, the stronger the action gets. So as the game gets going, first you're only collecting a couple dates, but as soon as you got like 9 markers in here, you're getting 9 dates on one turn. It just builds and builds so well. It's very fulfilling to play.
So that affects everybody, right? For the dates.
This is just your player board, so it's only yours. Now the drafting mechanism is pretty intriguing. This actually uses a cube tower, so you've got 12 different colors of keshis that all have their own actions associated with them. And what you're going to do is secretly choose 3 of them. Everybody reveals them. Everybody takes all of the ones that are revealed, and I'm trying to find the cube tower, because you're going to dump those keshis into a cube tower, and some of them might get stuck in there. So the ones that you chose may not even come out, and then you're going to pick up to 2
But it may come out in
color.
future turns, correct?
They might come out in future turns, correct?
So you're talking the Tower of Power, like in Shogun.
Yes. Yeah, it's now there were some complaints about the cube tower not being as effective it could be and not stopping many cubes from coming out, but to me that didn't take away from this game at all. But it's very interesting how this one works. Loved it. I only got to play it once. I really want to get to the table again. It's a hog, and there's a lot to set up, but it is so worth it.
All right.
Yeah, there you go. Games based on cities. I didn't go into this thinking that was one of my favorite themes, but I can't deny how many amazing games I've played based on cities and places.
Which means now you hear cities like Berlin. You're like, I want to check the game out.
Ooh, yeah, that's exactly it. I know. It's so true, too. I mean, again, you'll just start to realize how many, and I obviously didn't name all of them. There's hundreds of them, so...
I've got a couple of honorable mentions I want to throw out real quick, and then I got to hop off. But
Only been 2.5 hours.
I know, right? Well, and I haven't even been here for all of it. But just real quick, this kind of crosses over a little bit with you guys earlier, but because I hear Dan talk about this and he's right.
Bob.
I like games with real jobs, like where you're portraying real jobs, right? So like smartphone is one. I can't even think of another one.
Airplane pilots, Sky Team.
Well, Sky Team, the theme doesn't make a ton of sense.
How about Arrival Push, which you got to preview?
100% Arrival Push. That is, thank you, Mike, for setting me up. That is a very good theme, right? Representing a real job where you're an air traffic controller. But those kind of games I think are really interesting, and they don't always just have to be like simulators. But
You don't want them to be a simulator.
Yeah, I mean,
you want them to be a gamified version.
Yeah, right. But yeah, so games, because there's not a ton of them, I don't think, but they kind of represent real jobs. That's really interesting to me and unique. And then the other one, because it's another sort of passion of mine, comic books. So there's a few games that like pull it off really well, like Marvel Champions does a good job. You feel like you're like fighting through sort of like a comic book thing. Before that, Sentinels of the Multiverse really nailed it. Sentinels really feels like a comic book game. But then the one that kind of comes out of left field for me, and it's not out yet in the States, but it will be soon, Comic Hunters from Arcane Wonders. Well, it will be. I friggin' love that game as a collector. I used to collect comic books, and then I collected movies, and now I collect board games. I still have a comic book collection, and I still have a very tiny movie collection, and I have a little bit of a board game collection. But there's sort of that thrill of like knowing what you want, going out and finding it and assessing the value of it and what its value is to you, and everything. And again, what comic books are very important to me anyways, because as a kid, I wasn't a great reader until I started to find things that I got very passionate about reading. And it started off with comic books, and now I read books all the time. Like I'm literally reading a book every day. You know what I mean? Whether it's I've got a book on my bedstand, I've got a book in my bathroom. You know what I mean? Like I've got books wherever I land, and I'm going to be there for a while. I will sit there and I will read. And I'm usually reading more than one book at a time. Like I read this one over here and I read that one over there. And I am a voracious reader, and that is because of comic books.
So do you put the crappier book in the bathroom, or?
Usually the book I'm more into is in the bathroom, because like sometimes I'll just take like a hot bath and read a book for like as long as I can get away with being, isolated. Because usually if I'm reading a book in bed, I'm starting to fall asleep. So
I figured we want the more exciting book. So maybe you do actually want to go to sleep. So maybe you don't want to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't put the Jack Reacher books, there. I'll read like the Dragonlance books, like I can relax, and like fall asleep and drift off into that world. No problem.
I like it.
But yeah, voracious reader. Anyways, probably TMI, but I don't care. If you went into my house and you're like, why is there a book in here? That's why, because I don't want to read the shampoo bottle all the damn time.
Well, do you remember those old Reader's Digest books, or like condensed versions for your bathroom?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes. Trevor, actually, I just started reading the books because of a year or two ago when the show started coming out. I saw the Tom Cruise movie and I heard all the stuff about how he's not what Jack Reacher looks like, blah, blah, blah. And then I started reading the Reacher books and I'm like, oh yeah, these are awesome. And no, the Tom Cruise one just isn't cutting it. But that show on Prime is pretty dang good.
All right.
So that's it. I'm gonna bow out early before everybody signs off. But Sam, love you. Thank you so much for coming on, man. I appreciate you. And sorry I was late, and I'm sorry I'm dipping a few minutes early. But
Well, I think we're all signing off, aren't we?
are we all signing off? Okay.
We can.
I think so. It's going to 2.5 hours. Yeah, it's going to be 3 hours soon. I'm glad to be here, though. I really like hanging out with you guys, and I'm glad I was able to visit you guys just for at least one night.
Yeah,
for a little bit. But I struggled. I really wanted to go to the guys' convention. I was this close to doing it, but I'm just like, with my schedule, this was not going to happen. I'm in Dallas right now, so.
Wow. Well, I didn't push it because I figured
I really wanted to go though.
Put the invite out, like, okay, that's cool. Like, don't make him feel bad.
But you gotta spend time with us at Origins.
Well, I can't, but I will spend time with you at Gen Con. I promise.
I'll be there.
Well, okay.
We've already figured out where we're going to be hanging out here, Sam. So this is the Origins exhibit hall here. This is where BA Games will be. That's booth 831. And if you'll notice, we know some people at Third World Studios here.
We can't see your Mike. We can't see your screen.
Oh.
There you go. I thought it was just me for a second.
Floor plan for Origins. That's where BA Games will be, booth 831. And you can see some other people we know around there. Yeah, we're going to be loitering. I will be loitering around.
You got Michael Guigliano.
Yeah, Googs.
Got that guy. You got our buddy Jim Cole, who's in the chat here, who will be at this Arc Night booth here. And our buddies Parakeet Griffin. That was Aaron, who was in the chat earlier. So yeah, we got some fun people to visit in this little corner of the hall. So
the most important area of the hall.
Exactly, the bestest area of the hall.
All right, guys. We have games of Cult of the Deep running and Forge of Ravenshire in our booth the entire time at Origins. So.
It's booth 831. Go check them out. They're all lovely people that will treat you like family.
And then go buy dice from Arkwright.
We better go for get trouble. All right.
I know. All right. Thank you so much, guys. For the board game rundown, I've been Tim.
Mike.
Yeah.
And Sam.
Peace out.
Peace.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
We'll see you guys.
Good
next
job,
time.
Stonemeyer.
A 7.3 repeating heating